For the first time in more than 5.5 years, we finally tonight have a few new answers to a question that has loomed over Indiana and over the town of Delphi. Who killed Abby Williams and Libby Jones?
From the end of the bridge to, you got to go through. Now, I believe the bodies were found about 50 feet.
A suspect in the criminal investigation out of Fort Hood is dead. Officials say he killed himself overnight.
They needed that little music in the background that goes, "Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious."
Right.
Knew about it or was there. He's as guilty as the person who committed
Chilling
it.
details in the arrest of a suspected serial killer caught before he could strike again.
With him, they dropped the ball, man. Like, they said he went AWOL. And that he was a deserter, and nobody went to look for him.
Today is not a day to celebrate. With the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi on 2 counts of murder.
Right. He sees him taking off with the wife. They end up finding the wife murdered with the baby out of her, and they found the baby in another place.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000. It still sucks. This is Philip J. Fry, and you're listening to The Drunken Turkey Show, your one stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to The Drunk Turkey Show. I'm your host, Daniel J. Alongside with me, as always, is Jaime G and Big Blue. I'm drinking a little bit tonight. I know the boys are. We'll start off with you, Jaime. How you doing, and what are you drinking?
I'm doing good, man. I'm drinking some Bird Dog chocolate whiskey with some Coca-Cola.
Nice. What about you, Big Blue? How you doing, and what you drinking?
I am going to be drinking a little bit of a Slain Irish whiskey. I'm going to be making some green tea drinks. Not many people call them green tea Jameson's because people use Jameson's, but I ran out of Jameson, so I got to use my Irish whiskey.
Nice. I busted out. I'm drinking a Dr. Pepper, guys, but I busted out the. If you guys haven't tried this, and this is not a sponsor yet, so Crown Royal, if you hear us, please, we'd love to, have you sponsor the show. But salted caramel, it's a seasonal whiskey. It is amazing, and I'm drinking it in my new mug, guys. Check it out.
That's good.
Oh man, I got the boot going on today. So before we start, I want to say thank you to our newest members. We have Kara Fro, Pam Thorson, 9mm and lipstick, who is a moderator as well, and Amber Nest. Thank you so much for joining. We are going to be doing something probably starting maybe next week or the week after. It's going to be called the After Show, where myself, Jaime, and Blue will once a week stay after, put up another live for the members only, and we'll be able to, interact on a more free, looser show. It's probably going to be a little bit more light-tuned. We can talk about the cases that are up at hand, but we'll probably just be a little bit more lighthearted. If you guys are interested in that, please consider joining the membership. But that said, man, I'm gonna take a drink of this. Jaime, did you find anything new or anything interesting that's come out of this case here in this weekend?
Sorry, I had a bearded hair in my mouth. What's it called? No, but besides the fact that the dad is coming out, I noticed one thing about the dad. Like from the beginning, he wasn't too thrilled with law enforcement.
Right.
But slowly, I think he's in the last interview that he did, he's trying to back him up, letting them work and whatnot.
Right. And do you think that maybe that's because perhaps law enforcement might be telling him to settle down a little bit?
I believe so, and I think they probably told him that he might be hurting the case more than he's helping. But like I said, it could go both ways. It can, it can help it and not hurt.
For sure, for sure. And today what we wanted to do is kind of go through some of the stuff, um,
Before
from the top, from the bottom. Go ahead, Big Blue. What's up?
before we start, I did promise somebody in the live chat, a lot of people in the live chat, that I was going to do a shotgun tonight. And
he did promise this. And you know what? Before you do that, you're not going to do that right now, Blue. We're gonna wait for many of those people in the live chat to return. We were only at 147 viewers, and I want to thank every one of you guys to being on the show.
Thank you.
You're gonna, when we hit 300, you do that shotgun.
I just wanted everybody to know I chose a little bit off the course. Okay, I didn't get a beer today. I got something stronger than a beer. I never tried these before, and I'm pretty loco, and this is like all the Four Locos.
You're gonna
And
shotgun.
That's the top boy, just for y'all.
He's gonna shotgun a Four Loco tall boy because he promised that in the live chat the last time. That's insane.
What's
All
it
right,
called?
man. When we hit 300, you're gonna do that, buddy. When we
What's
hit
it called?
300. Cheers to everybody.
I have a feeling he's gonna start a trend.
Oh man, he definitely is. I don't know if it's a good one or not. This might be one that ends up on the news saying "Don't try at home."
Well, if it starts a trend, they can always buy us a beer.
Yeah.
True story. And so I wanted to start this from the beginning, right, guys? I wanted to go back. Let's look at everything now that we've had a little bit of information. There's a lot of rumors that are going on referencing this case. And, there was one in particular that started with the 911 call, right? And so this is from the Moscow Police Department. Let me put this up on the bigger screen here. I can zoom in. So this is the investigative timeline, just to kind of remind everybody. On the evening of November 12th, Kaylee Goncalves and Madison Mogen were at a local bar called the Corner Club at 202 North Main Street in downtown Moscow between 10 and 1:30 a.m. November 13th. At approximately 1:40, Kaylee and Madison were seen at a video at a local food vendor called the Grub Truck at 318 South Main Street and used a private party to ride home from downtown to arrive at their home at 1122 King Road residence at around 1:56 a.m. Right? Didn't they say that earlier that it was 1:45? Right? And so what this tells me is this has been updated because the original one said 1:45. Now the family has said and come out multiple times and said it was 1:56 because of the text message that they received. And so this is an updated one. And if people haven't gone back and looked at this, the updated investigative timeline, you might miss some stuff. And so let's read on. Investigators have determined that Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle were seen at the Sigma Chi house on University of Idaho campus at 735 Ness Purse Drive at approximately 1:45. Ethan and Xana are believed to have returned to the residence on 1122 King Road. It was previously reported that Ethan resided at the home. However, it's been determined that was only visiting. Detectives believe that on November 12th, the two surviving roommates had also been out in the Moscow community separately, but returned to the home by 1 a.m. On November 13th, the two did not wake up until later that morning. Okay, so right here, it says, on November 13th, the surviving roommates summoned friends to the residence because they believed one of the second floor victims had passed out and was not waking up. And so the person that they're saying that had passed out, or one of the victims on the second floor, they assumed that they were passed out. So the person that they made the call for to make the complaint about a unconscious person wasn't one of the roommates that saw Ethan in the corner. It wasn't one of the friends that were brought over. They assumed that one of the unconscious person, or one of the victims on the second floor, was unconscious. Right? So this is one of the persons that were deceased. Okay, it says the call was made from one surviving roommate's cell phone inside the residence, but it doesn't say that it was made by the owner of that cell phone. Right? Yeah. I would have thought that it would have said, had it been one of the roommates calling 911, I would assume it would have said the 911 call was made by one of the surviving roommates from their cell phone inside the residence. But, was made from one of the surviving room cell phones. It kind of indicates that somebody else called police. Multiple people talked with multiple people talked with the 911 dispatch before Moscow police arrived at location. Officers entered the residence and found 2 victims on the 2nd floor and 2 victims on the 3rd floor. And so, based on this information, that the person that they assumed that was unconscious was one of the second floor victims, based on what way they describe it. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
And so I think this kind of puts to rest any talk about, somebody seeing the bodies running out and passing out, things of that nature. That didn't happen. Okay. Now, I had seen a report, and I was trying to find it today. I got a little bit tied up with some stuff, but I was trying to find it. But I had seen a report that the 3rd floor bedroom was locked. Now, I've said this quite a bit. My opinion is, if he locked the 3rd bedroom door as he stepped out, I would assume he probably would have done the same on the 2nd floor. That way, if somebody tried to make entry into that room, it would prolong the time frame of them being able to make the discovery of the bodies. Right. And so I think that that's what happened. I think they couldn't get in touch with the persons inside the 2nd floor. It has been rumored that the brother came over. I'm assuming that the surviving roommates contacted the brother to let him know that they couldn't get entry or couldn't get Ethan and Xana to wake up, or couldn't get into the door. And he showed up, and he was one of the guys there. Now, perhaps maybe, one person did faint or something. I'm not sure. I don't think so, because it says the unconscious person was a 2nd floor victim. That kind of puts that to rest for me. Let's see. It says autopsies were conducted on November 17th at the Lauda County coroner, confirmed the identity of the 4 murdered individuals and their cause and manner of death as homicide by stabbing. The coroner stated that 4 victims were likely asleep and some had defensive wounds, and each was S'd multiple times. There was no sign of SA. Detectives continue to investigate what occurred approximately 9 p.m. Okay, so apparently, detectives continue to investigate what occurred from approximately 9 p.m. November 12th to 1:45 a.m. November 13th, when Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle were believed to have been at Sigma Chi House on the University of Idaho campus, 735 Mass Pierce Drive. Any interactions, contacts, directions, method of travel, or any abnormal could add context to what occurred. So something happened at that place, and I don't understand what the confusion is if the frat house is cooperating. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, it just depends on how many people were actually there, right?
Right.
Because there was a lot of people that were out of town, right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's gonna take a while for them to do interviews and everything, but it's been more than a month.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And these guys, I'm wondering if there's something in that frat house that isn't lining up. Because what they're going to do is they're going to interview everybody separately and independently, right? And when they do that, they're going to ask them questions, and not the same questions either. They're going to be similar questions to get the same answers, but in different paths and different means of questioning. And that is to preventing them from collaborating on their story, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
And so there might be something being said about what Xana and Ethan were doing or said at that frat house that isn't lining up with what somebody else may or may not be saying, and or what some type of perhaps visual, maybe some kind of surveillance footage might be indicating. For instance, if somebody said they left at a certain time and the camera shows them leaving at a different time, things of that nature, right?
Yeah.
And so detectives are seeking out outside surveillance taken from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. on Sunday, November 13th. That is the time frame that they feel that the acts were occurred. And I'm assuming one of the best ways to tell is during the autopsy that they're going to investigate and take out the contents of the stomach, They understand at what time that these girls ate from the grub truck. And so, depending on how much processed or digested the food is going to give them a pretty good time frame as far as when they passed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, and so detectives are seeking outside surveillance from 3 to 6 a.m. Sunday, November 13th, from businesses and residents within the geographical area listed below. Detectives request all available videos, whether there appears to be motion content or not. And then they give a four-street barrier. That way we can kind of look into it. And the rest of it kind of talks about detectives are also seeking additional tips and surveillance of video of unusual behavior the night of November 12th into the early hours of November 13th, while Kaylee and Madison were in downtown Moscow, while Ethan and Xana were in the Sigmund Shah house. And anyone who observed unusual behavior near these areas or has video surveillance is asked to submit tips. Okay, and so investigators have looked extensively into the information received about Kaylee having a stalker. They've pursued hundreds of pieces of information related to this topic, but not verified or identified a stalker. Anyone with information with potential stalker or unusual instances is asked to contact the tip line. So they've done their investigation. They've done their due diligence on this stalker talk. It doesn't appear that they find, in my opinion, based on this, they're going to look into it, naturally, but I'm sorry, I pronounced that wrong. Sigma Chi. Thank you, Lynn. My apologies. They're going to look into any possible information that's going to lead to something, but what I'm going to say right now is we're at 343 viewers.
Yeah.
Big Blue, are you ready to? But before you do, everybody needs to. We got to see. Now you know what? Go ahead, Blue. Go ahead.
I just had to get in the right position, man.
Don't drop it on the laptop, man.
I know. I'm getting back.
Yeah, get back.
I've never popped one of these open, so I'm not sure how carbonated they are.
Pepe Longstocking, thank you so much for the $4.99 super sticker. We really appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Here we go.
Oh, Big Blue in the house. This is the first time ever in drunk turkey history. Hey man, it doesn't count if it's on you.
It's on your shoulder. He's gonna take off the shirt and just squeeze it out.
Yeah, that don't count.
You just see him.
Big Blue promised this. He promised this. I'm concerned.
Yeah, honestly, it took like two people for it took two people for him to go yeah, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, it didn't take much convincing out of Big Blue.
No,
that's the longest shotgun I've ever. I'm gonna mute you, bro, because you just breathe really hard into the microphone. Yeah, what's going on? Only 69 likes. Let's pick that up. Come on, guys. All right, Blue. You all right there?
You okay?
I muted you. You all right?
Dude, it's so carbonated. Shot out.
Man, that was painful, Blue. That was painful.
Yeah.
Appreciate all 350 of you guys watching. You guys asked for that, and Blue delivered.
Yep.
You're muted there.
Does not shoot out like that.
That's what she said.
I don't think he's gonna make it to the end of the show.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I don't know if we're gonna make it to the end of the show. Let's see. I wanted to see. So the police department has. Let me see if I can find it on here. Go ahead, Jaime.
I was gonna ask you. They have a warrant for the surveillance video for the frat house.
I'm not sure. I mean, they may need to get a search warrant for it. They would definitely ask for it if there's one. But I'm not sure if it's going to be.
I remember
cameras out there.
I don't know where I saw this at. I don't remember the specific source, but I remember seeing that some of the guys from there don't want to talk. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they want to talk. If they're going to talk, they're going to talk with the attorney. But I don't know where I saw that. I saw it on I think it was another like a news station, but I just don't remember which it was.
Got you. And so, real quick, this is what they still believe as far as, and this is the most recent publishing. At this time, detectives do not believe the following are involved in this crime: the 2 surviving roommates, the male in the grub truck surveillance video, private party driver who took Kaylee and Madison home on November 13th, the male Kaylee and Madison called numerous times during the early morning hours of November 13th, and any individual at the residence when 911 was called, or the individual on the lease who moved out of the residence before the school year started and was not present at the time of the incident. And so, in my opinion, when you look at that information, there's a lot of folks that are pointing, a finger towards Jack D. I'm not sure. When you look at the numerous times that they called Kaylee and Madison, called him in the morning, if his phone was on and it rang, right, then there's going to be a ping as to where that phone was. Now, is it possible that he left his phone at home, took off and did this, and then went back to his phone? Yes, that's possible.
Yeah.
But if they have cleared him, I'm thinking there's a reason behind it, and it potentially has to do with those pings. Maybe perhaps once he did wake up in the morning, if that was early in the morning, and he called back or texted back, that's also going to have a record of that activity on there as well. As far as when he woke up, things of that nature. And so, I'm not too certain that is Jack. In my opinion, we don't really know what his alibi is, other than the fact that he was sleeping during the time that they attempted to call him. Where he was sleeping is unknown at this point. Who knows? It's going to be the father and the family of Kaylee. He's been with them. He's talked to them. They would have definitely had told him. Does that mean that he wouldn't? Does that mean that he's that they couldn't lie to him? That Jack couldn't lie to him or anything like that, and that he couldn't be blinded by his relationship with Jack, that he could think that he couldn't have done this? Yeah, but the police and him both think that way. Now, here recently, Steve came out and he was talking about Adam. Now, I find Adam to be very interesting. Adam lives down the street. Adam lives at the at that house where the gentleman was shotgunning a beer on the roof. And so let's look at that real quick. This is where Adam lives, and this is where the victim's house is. It's very close. Very, very close, right? Now, we had done our investigation, and we found that Adam was a bartender, right? Based on what Steve had said. And I went to the Corner Club Bar Facebook page and ended up finding a picture of Adam at the working behind the bar. And it has been confirmed that this is the same Adam based on news outlets, right? They've talked about it. Let me see if I can find this picture.
What's it called? Is Blue eating a candy cane?
Yes, I am. It's Christmas time.
So one thing that you notice about
flavor in my mouth, because it tasted okay, but it was watermelon flavored.
Yeah, you're crazy, Blue. So as you can see right here, Adam is significantly taller. He's a larger man. He plays basketball. He's 6'5", right?
Yeah, he's the big boy.
He's a big guy. He's a big guy, big strong guy. He apparently, based on what we could find, he was potentially the bartender that night that the girls were talking to. Now, give me a second. Now, you know what? Let's play it real quick. Now, this is, I'm going to put it up here. This is the footage. I'm going to mute everybody. This is the footage of Kaylee walking. I've enhanced the audio as loud as I possibly can. So just bear with me on it, and we'll hear it, and we'll watch this real quick. Is it me or is it sounded low? It sounded low to me. I worked on it early. Okay.
You can hear it.
All right. So one thing that I noticed out of that picture, you know what? Let me we'll go to Google Earth. Is she's saying, what did you tell Adam, right?
Mhm.
They were coming out of the corner club. And let's put this in perspective real quick. So here's the corner club right here. I found where that footage was taken from. That footage was taken from right here. Let me put us down there real quick. So this is very close to the corner club. They had just left the corner club, in my opinion. This video is probably around 1:35 or so in the morning if they left at 1:30 a.m. So right here, where did I find it at? There is a camera somewhere around here. Well, anywho, you can see this white Idaho flag, and then across you see this right here. So that's the corner club. They were extremely close when that video was taken. It was under this area here. Could have swore I saw the camera earlier. It was somewhere around here. Maybe that's it. I can't tell, but it was clearer on my phone when I was looking for it earlier. There's a camera there, and then there's another camera on the other side of this bar here, right there, facing the street. And so this is where it was taken. In my opinion, you know, they're talking about Adam. They just left Adam, right? Now, here's my thing about Adam. He lives close. We found out that this bar closes out at 2:00 in the morning, right?
Yeah.
He lives down the street. At what time, you know, we assume it'll probably, this is a smaller bar. It's not that big. Let's take a look at it real quick. It's a small facility. It's not that big. So perhaps it's not something that's going to take 3 hours to clean up. But, you know, it's a Saturday night. It's a college town. You would assume it would be kind of busy. You know, we saw the footage at the grub truck. That seemed like it was extremely busy, right? And so, in my opinion, he was probably, you know, last call is at 2:00. People usually get about a 5 to 10 minute break. And then, I mean, they get a 5 or 10 minute leeway to drink a little bit more. And then after the fact, you got to kick them out. Most people try, you know, there's a lot of times people hang out around the bar, you know, conversate, you know, lounge a little bit outside, and then they got to leave the premises. Trash has to be taken out. Things have to be restocked. Floors have to be swept and mopped. Tables have to be cleaned. Whole 9 yards, right?
Yeah.
And then they got to lock up. So, you know, if there's no way I think that Adam is leaving before 3:00.
Yeah, I think that bar being that size and being in a college town on a Saturday night, maybe like an hour to an hour and a half of cleaning.
Right.
I will figure that it will take longer on a Friday because you still have the following day for patrons to come in.
Maybe, but yeah, but an hour and a half, hour, exactly. And so you look at where he lives, how close he lives. If he got home between 3 and 6, I mean, in my opinion, I think that's pretty suspicious. I don't know about you guys. What do you think?
He had enough time. He would have enough time.
Yeah, man. Because it's only. What if he has to leave early today and one of the other bars keeps covered for him? You know, we don't know the whole story yet.
Yeah, you're right, man. You're right. And so, man, this thing moved. I don't know why. Hold on, I gotta fix that. Isn't gonna bother.
Is it crazy that I'm still thirsty after that drink? God damn, it made me thirsty.
Believe you're crazy, man. But yeah, I find it very difficult that if he's getting home between those hours, that he didn't see any lights, anything. And the one thing that I also discovered or heard about or found was on News Nation. They had the interview with Steve, and they were asking him about about Adam and whatnot, right? And Adam had told or he had told Steve had told them that they talked to Adam, which is a big concern. They shouldn't be talking to Adam, right? They talked to Adam and they felt that he wasn't a part of the investigation. Um, however, let me move this out. The police, when they were asked about Adam, they wouldn't confirm or anything. Now they've confirmed a lot of people that they're not, a part of this investigation. They're not suspects. They cleared a lot of people very early. Hoodie guy, Jack, but they wouldn't comment on him.
Mm.
What do you think about that, guys?
Well, I think that they might have cleared people early on a lot faster because their alibi checked out. They had a solid alibi. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the ones that they haven't cleared out, those are the ones they're vetting.
Yeah. No, for sure. I just find it odd that the police also said that they had this information very early on in the investigation. So this wasn't a surprise to them, right? And so why not clear him, especially if people are finding him, especially if people are putting out his information, his picture. I'm not the only one. We're not the only one. All these people are coming out and nothing's happening. I mean, all these folks are coming forward or being cleared, and yet not this guy. You get what I'm saying? I find it odd. I find it odd that he was, just on what they said. I can't pick up what it is that they're saying in the beginning.
Yeah,
I tried to boost the audio.
Yeah, it's very faint, man.
Right.
And, there's car noises too, so
you can't really hear too well.
Yeah. Let me see. I saw something in the live chat. I wanted to look.
I mean, Adam's only been cleared by the dad, right?
Yeah.
And he's not investigating anything. Like, he's not part of the investigation, even though like he's gonna do as much as he can because he wants justice.
Right.
You know what I mean? But like if the police don't clear him, then no one else can. You know what I mean?
Right. I completely agree. I think you're right on that aspect. And so, I find it suspicious, and there's some other people that I find suspicious, and let me know in the live chat, guys, if you guys know who these guys are that we're going to talk about. And we're going to go, like I said, we're going back. We were asked last time to kind of talk about the food, the grub truck video, and kind of give our perspective of it. And so I found some interesting things in it. I found some very interesting things out of that video. And so, let's break it down. Let's watch it. And we'll see if there's anybody else in there that seems suspicious. To me, it's not the hoodie guy. I mean, don't get me wrong. The hoodie guy is doing some suspicious stuff, but I see some other suspicious stuff from other people that are out there.
Yeah.
And so let's see. Let me put it this way right here.
Do we have to mute ourselves?
Yeah, we will. We will.
No, it's amusing though. It's fun to watch other people dance the ball. Have a good night.
You know what? I'm going to just mute this video. You can't really hear anything anyway, so that way we don't have to mute ourselves. Right off the bat, guys. There's a guy, number 9 in Joe Burrow jersey, and then there's a guy with a Kobe Bryant jersey behind him. May Kobe Bryant rest in peace. I got a comment on that, not saying RIP. So you have Joe Burrow and Kobe Bryant back here. Kobe's like looking around. He's looking around already.
Mm-hmm.
Watch. You can see him. He's looking that way. He's looking forward. He tells him something.
Mm-hmm.
All right. In fact, I split this up, so we'll watch it. He tells him something. Look at Joe Burrow. Take a step forward. He looks back. This guy's walking off. Number 8 walks off. So I redid it, right? So he sees him. He tells him something. Hey, Maddie's here.
Yeah.
He looks around. He sees Maddie and Kaylee arrive. He turns to see his buddy walk away, right? So let's rewind this back to the beginning. That way we can see. All right, Maddie, hoodie guy, and Kaylee here come across. He sees her. I think, let's see when she notices him. All right, it's going to be after this. So this is where he says, hey, Maddie's here. He turns to look, leans forward, looks over, looks back at this guy. Now they're searching around. You'll see why in a little bit. His girlfriend is coming over. And I think what they're searching for is the girlfriend, right? So he's looking around. They're still hanging out there. This is, I believe, named Joe. This is a new girl in town. And I'm not sure who this guy is, but he ends up getting lifted by that girl. It's a weird exchange. And so they're still looking around. He seems kind of nervous. He waves at her. She acknowledges the wave, and then they go over and they hug, right? It's a little awkward. Little pat on the back.
Yeah. Not much of a conversation, right? Just pretty much a hi and bye kind of thing.
Right. Now, these two guys get close together. So this is the first time that they've gotten close. Their interaction, they've been separate for a while, right? Like, this is the first time that you can tell they're together, but they're acting kind of odd. They're separated apart. This is the first time they come close. Look at that hand and watch. I zoomed it in. He walks away. All right, so this is the time that they come close. This is what we just saw. He motions something about going to sleep.
Yeah, that looks weird to me, man. Like, why would you do that hand gesture? You know, why not just say, "Oh, they're gonna sleep"? You know what I mean?
Right. Well, not just that. Like, what is he saying? I'm gonna put her to sleep. I'm gonna visit her after somebody goes to sleep.
Yeah, maybe.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's not at all.
And so they're close together. He takes off, right? So he takes off there. One thing I had noticed, I don't know if you guys tell me this. Let me see. Maddie walks away. Does Kaylee give her a little bit of a look? Watch. When she sees who she's with. She stares there. She pauses.
Yeah, kind of.
She never, I don't, I watched it earlier, but it didn't appear that she was interacting with these guys. I wonder if there's something there.
Maybe.
This is her best friend. This is somebody that they thought they were like a sister to her. Right? She was a family member. Clearly drunk. She's stumbling right there. But she gave her a look. There was a pause there. In fact, this is also just slightly sped up when it's on this screen. So it was a little bit longer than the pause that was out there in real time, so to speak. Right? And so she gave her a look. She paused. She looked that direction. Like, she didn't wave. She didn't acknowledge the people she was with. So at this point, I found that to be odd right there. She didn't acknowledge Joe Burrow. And so at this point, Joe Burrow's looking back around. You see some shadows creeping in. There's one girl. Another female comes up to him, talks to him. They're talking. The girls are looking over here. Kaylee's saying something to her. And she kisses him and walks away. And as soon as she walks away, this one turns around. You see that? It's like the moment she walks away, she turns, waits for her to pass, and then she goes up to him.
Ooh.
You see what I'm saying?
Possible love triangle, maybe?
There's something there, man. She looks like it is like she knew better. Like she knew something was up. Right? She's there. She's not even looking. Kaylee's telling her something. She kisses him. She turns at that point, and as soon as that girl passes her, that's when she makes her move out that direction. So here's Maddie following her. So I put it in regular speed. She's watching her, and then passes around.
And then makes contact again.
Right. Kaylee comes over. She's on her phone. She's talking with Maddie here. All right. And so everything's going to be put up on this page. Now, I didn't write any of this stuff down here, or the stuff that's going to be coming out. This is from the
The subtitles.
Yeah, no, it's not the subtitles. It's from somebody who was watching it, right? And
Oh, okay.
putting their own theories on it.
Yeah.
But this is the only footage I could find. So these guys are talking. They're separate. Hoodie guy follows them, and he's just hanging out behind them. He's on his phone.
Mhm.
These guys are waving at somebody off in the corner. So this is Madison. She's pretty drunk. Kaylee's preoccupied on her phone. They're kind of separated. Hoodie guy is over here by himself. This female comes over to Kaylee. I'm sorry.
Hey, by any chance, what is the Google rating on that food truck?
Oh gosh, I don't know, man. It's probably famous now. So, female does come over and hug Kaylee. She's by herself. This guy's watching her. Comes up to get his food. Acts. Let's see this right here. There's people say that there's some inappropriate touching and stuff that's going on right here.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So he comes in close.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Now, it didn't take much of a so right here, he taps her on the back of the shoulder. So he's already behind her.
Mm.
How many steps did it take from him to get behind her? So he took a step back. That's one thing. He took a step and a half back, and then takes 1.5 steps, and he's touching her already past her. So he was pretty close. He was pretty close. In fact, let's do this real quick. I'm going to show you guys this. So here's the grub truck video. It appears that she was leaning right here.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the window, I guess, where they would open and hand out the food bag. And you can see this tray and the napkins there.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go back to the video.
Look by the back window now. The front door is
You're real low, Blue. Move the mic closer to you.
I think they give the food in the back of the truck now. The front windows ain't used like that no more much. They're mostly just for air.
Maybe, but I see the you can see this silver thing right here. That box was right there next to the front door.
Oh, okay. So they're probably getting napkins.
Yeah, they're doing it there. And so let's rewind this a little bit. All right, so he's pretty close to her. He's not that far apart. So if there is some kind of inappropriate touching or anything, then we'll be there. Now, where's Kaylee at here? I think she's behind this guy.
Yeah.
So you see, she never interacts with Joe Burrow.
Mm-mm.
Never talks to him. Never does any of those things. You know, I found that to be interesting.
Is that hoodie guy wearing gloves?
Let's see.
So
Where's he at? Let me see.
I thought he was.
I can't tell. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on that. Because he's a subject for a lot of folks, right?
Yeah. Oh, there's a.
No, he's not wearing gloves.
Okay. There's that guy that everybody thought that was Inan.
Yeah, that's not Inan. And so she's stumbling around.
Mm-hmm.
So they pull each other close. Hoodie guy's just hanging out back there. She's on her phone still. Like, she is not looked up from her phone for most of what's been going on at this place up to this point. I wonder what has her so intrigued in her phone.
Yeah.
I want to thank Rainy Days for the $5 sticker. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. Thank you.
It seems like she was having a really intense conversation on that phone. Like text message in the paragraphs or something. You know what I mean?
That's what it appears. Because she's not scrolling with one hand. It's two hands on the phone. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. She's having a conversation with somebody on the phone there.
I mean, she's constantly looking at it. Like, she hasn't taken her hands, like her eyes off of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, but then again, I mean, she might be, intoxicated.
Yeah, she could be intoxicated. She was also maybe potentially setting up the Uber ride home.
Mm-hmm.
But those things don't require that much work. You know what I'm
But
saying?
it does for me. I don't know.
Yeah. But she's definitely texting somebody, like, and you can see like she gives up here in a minute, and she's having a good time after that. You know, I think maybe that's what she's telling her right there. Like, yo,
man, I wish we had a better. I mean, if we had a better quality, you don't think people, like, somebody can read lips, can say what they're saying, right?
that, and I think the police have enough audio that they can enhance and create something. But this Joe guy here takes he starts hanging out with hoodie guy, right?
Yeah.
You see, she's still going at it, man. She's definitely texting. Look at that. You can see that she is definitely going at it on her phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh man. So more people show up. They're talking about something.
Mm-hmm.
Now she hasn't moved from this area, so either she's really close and everybody's just getting all up in her personal business.
Yeah.
Maybe she's a little bit further apart than I thought.
Dude, what's it with these two dudes, or is it carrying each other over here?
They're having a romance, okay?
That's a girl, bro.
That's a chick? Oh.
Yeah. That's a girl that's trying to carry him.
Is this drunk shenanigans?
Yeah.
Yeah. So look, there she's at it again, just texting away. This entire time has been texting.
Yeah. At what time was this video taken?
Before 1:40.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was around between 1:30 and 1:45.
And how far is this from the bar itself?
This is probably 3 blocks.
Oh, it's not that far. Yeah, well, now she's off the phone. She looks perfectly fine.
Yeah, she took a little hit of her vape pen. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
She's enjoying that.
Mm.
And so she's off the phone. Whatever was on her phone at this point, she doesn't care. In fact, this thing says she takes a selfie. I don't think so. I think she takes pictures of Madison this entire time.
Mm.
Now, the only thing about that whole texting stuff too is if it was like on a cryptic type of messenger, like for instance, Snap or WhatsApp, things of that nature, it might be difficult to pull those things up.
Yeah.
So they finally get their food. Oh wait, no, that's not theirs. But I think she goes to grab it, and I think that's what. Yeah, see, she goes to grab the food, and that's what entices Joe to say something about they're grabbing food. And I think that's what he said, right? And I think she goes, F you, mister, about that, right?
Yeah, can you go back? I want to see that again.
Well, it hasn't happened yet. It's about to. Well, wait, what do you want to go back to see? The food?
Yeah. Whatever. The interaction.
So she thought it was hers. They laugh because it's not.
Oh, okay.
And then she goes to grab it anyways. He laughs about it and takes off.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw something else.
She's pointing out into that direction, out somewhere. She's back on her phone. And that's where she goes, F you, mister. Total of, I guess, 3 times she points in that direction.
Is she's pointing at the hoodie guy or the one in the green jacket?
I'm not sure, man. But the guy in the green jacket stated that he had said that, she's grabbing food or whatever, let her just grab people's food. I think she was, drunk and being playful about that and said, "F you, mister," at that point.
Yeah.
Eat your taco. That's what I heard. I'm gonna eat your taco. That's what she's pointing at.
I'm not sure that's what was said, Blue.
Let's see. Unless we get a clear sound to it, which I doubt that he's going to release at this point.
Right. I mean, I can turn it on, but it's
real loud, especially with everybody around.
Let's see. Let's mute and let's try to hear what it sounds like. See if we can hear what she says.
I'll mute myself.
Love it. Very
So, Joe, how close are we to you sitting down on Friday nights?
I mean, that was a solid rush. It's a good thing that it ended, but this is Friday and Saturday in a row. They got you down round 1. So
no,
I never heard.
No, can't hear anything. All you hear is the guy talking.
Yeah, I think that's the owner talking, right?
Yeah, the guy that was,
or at least an employee, right?
Yeah, that was one of the employees. And so,
But I mean, even after she said that, it doesn't seem like it phased. Like, after that, nothing. Like, it didn't phase her that much. You know what I mean? Maybe she was just playing around.
I think that was just playful stuff.
Yeah, I think it was just playful, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. And so she's going to get her food and then they're going to take off.
Mm-hmm.
While these guys are talking, he's so engaged in his conversation, he doesn't even realize it. But she takes her phone out and she starts videotaping and taking pictures of Madison up against the grub truck here in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps she's sending that to someone.
Could be.
Like, hey, I'm with Madison. You know what I'm saying? Checking in.
Yeah.
Let's see. But, Kaylee doesn't interact with many people here, except for Madison. Yeah. And then that one girl in the black that came up to her.
Mm-hmm.
She's not interacting very much with Hoodie Guy. She's not interacting very much with the guy, Joe, that she was with. She didn't interact with Joe Burrow or his group or his entourage. And so here's the food. Wait, no, not yet. Oh, here it is. So right here, some folks are thinking that she's taking a selfie, but I think she's taking a picture of her. I don't know. The angle of the phone doesn't look right.
Yeah, it's either a picture or just a small recording.
Yeah, I don't. So,
from the angle of the phone, it does look like she's just taking a picture.
Yeah.
See that phone is straight up. It's not angled.
It's actually forward, a little bit forward, right?
Yeah, she's taking a picture this direction.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking a picture of the cooks and the
See,
food.
she's posing,
mm-hmm.
and then she does it again. And yeah, we know that the Hoodie Guy came walking with them.
Yeah.
From at least the corner bar, based on the that video that we saw where she's saying, what did you tell Adam? It appears that he walked with them from the corner club. That footage was taken right there near the corner club. So there again, she's taking another video or some type of image, whether picture or video.
Yeah.
They take off and then they run away. Joe figures it out. He goes, what the F, and then just takes off, leaves.
Well, he goes a different direction, right?
Yeah, he does go a different direction. He actually goes around this corner. You'll see him walk around the corner, and he's gone.
I wonder if there's any surveillance from that side.
I'm sure there is. And maybe that surveillance is what cleared him. Maybe they followed him all the way back to his residence, his house, some of that nature.
Because most commercial buildings are going to have a video surveillance for outdoors. Especially in the college town, there's a lot of drunks that get angry and break stuff. So I'm pretty sure they have video of them walking to the car and getting into the Uber or something. They're just not sure.
Sure. Now, go ahead, Bill.
I just wanted to say, a lot of people are talking about her dad about, He's doing his own investigation. He's doing his own stuff. I agree with him. If it was one of my kids, I would do the same.
I agree, man. If it was one of my kids, I'd be out there trying to do everything I can to find this person and get him to justice for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys a couple of pictures of some Elantras that we found in Moscow. And then afterwards, we're going to be taking your phone calls. So please hit that like, please subscribe, guys. We're trying to get to 5K before the end of the year. Help us out. Help us get those subscriptions up, please. Thank you. So the first one that I wanted to show is really close. It's not a white Elantra, but this is where the victim's house is. Check it out. Victim's house. First Elantra I want to show you guys. Back here, South Blake Avenue. It's a silver Elantra. Potentially at night, could look light and colored, could look white.
Yeah, especially if if the security cams are, it's blurry and stuff. Especially if they're driving fast, it could look white. I mean, even in the other picture, remember with the body cam footage.
Right.
That one did kind of look like gray though, because when they went under the street light, it didn't reflect as much light as it would a white car.
Right. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. There's a second Hyundai. It's not an Elantra, but it is a four-door Hyundai that's within the parameters of the area in which they talked about. It's right here.
That one just doesn't have that slant on that back window.
It doesn't. It doesn't look like the one that would have been at the.
Looks like it's like a 2010 mod. It's a little bit older.
Yeah, it looks like it has a straight point.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Where were the other ones at? I have like 6 of them. Let's see. So we have one out here. Let's put this out right there. I think this is too new of an Elantra. Right here, this white one. Definitely a Hyundai, definitely an Elantra. That kind of has that curved angle, and that has that light. I mean, the rear mirror on the door frame. That was one thing we had noticed.
Somebody said that's not it, ULs, and I'm gonna say we're not saying it is. We're just saying that they're in the vicinity.
Yeah.
Nice day.
Have a nice day. Yeah. Let's see. There's so many things I want to say, but I won't. We showed that one. Let's look at this one. This one's interesting, guys. This white Elantra, because it's been reported that Kaylee was a part of this sorority right here. Right across the street is another Elantra.
And that's a newer model.
Now, the two next ones that I have, let's see. That's the last one I want to show. Let's see, where's the other one? Right here. It's up here. There it is. This is a lighter in color one. This one is across the street from the Christ Church, and this is another college that's in Moscow. Now, this is the right year model. Different color, though. Now, the last one that I found, where are you? Right here. Good old right here. Now, this one fits the bill 100%. Right next to this red Cruise.
That that one looks more like it, but I don't. The windows don't look as tinted as the one in the security.
It was dark, so
yeah, that too.
I think it needs to be more tinted.
I don't know. I don't. Do you have that picture of the security cam? Wonder if it had maybe. Wonder if it had that little moon roof thing. Can you tell?
Well, let's find out. Let's look at it. I can tell you that if the vehicle that we suspect, this one right here, that was at that party, don't have it.
Yeah,
this one you can't tell.
Can't tell.
But you know, it has that angle here, has that angle here. It's just unsure, but the tint does look dark, but it could be because this is a picture of a screen, right? You can see the reflection of the phone that they took the picture of, or with. I'm sorry. And then you have right here, this vehicle here that was parked there. That if you go and look on Google Earth, you'll see that vehicle parked there at their house. It does look like a Hyundai. I'm not sure if it's an Elantra or not. It doesn't look like the Elantra the year that they were looking for, but it's definitely a question mark there for sure. Let's see. But yeah, so it's definitely a question mark. Let me go and put the phone number in, and so that way we can get some phone calls coming in. Hope everybody's having a good night. Let us know in the comment section if you're drinking with us. So, all right, let me put this on real quick. What's that?
No.
Okay. All right, so the phone number. I'm going to put this first on here real quick.
So somebody asked earlier what I'm drinking. It's my version of a green tea shot. So I'm mixing a little bit of peach schnapps. Instead of using a lime twist, I add Sprite just to make it a little bit more sweeter. And instead of Jameson tonight, I ran out of Jameson, guys. But this is a little bit better than Jameson. Sorry, Jameson. Slane's coming after you. I like it better than Jameson. I'll tell you that much. And then a little sweet and sour mix gives it a kick, and it's really good. I'm gonna try it.
All right. Let's see. Daniel is first sub and mod. I need a bottle of Crown for Christmas. You got it. Let's so I have it in the live chat, y'all. Give us a call. Let us know if you have your thoughts and theories. If you have any questions for us, if you have anything that you want to explain, maybe we can kind of go through. We have a lot of the information, at our discretion, so we can kind of go through it and figure out, we'll hear you out and hear your thoughts and theories on it. So the phone number is 726-202-4054. I have the line open, and give us a call. And so, do you have what are your first thoughts and theories? Who do you suspect could be the guy in this case? If you had to put your money on somebody, who would you suspect?
Damn, man, I don't know, man. There's so many avenues it can go. You got a guy that doesn't have an alibi besides they say he was asleep at his home.
Yep. We got our first call though. I hate to interrupt you, but how you doing? You're live on the show. Let's keep it clean. I forgot to mention that. How's it going? You're on Drunk Turkey Show. Who am I speaking with?
Hey guys, this is Mia calling from North Carolina.
Welcome to the show, Mia. How's it going?
Hello.
I'm obsessed with this. I've been watching it since day one, and I just subscribed to your guys' show a couple of days ago. Awesome. So yeah, thanks for following this. It's me to get the word out. Anyway, I don't know if you guys have seen some of the video from KTTV. Hold on a second. I got a screenshot of this. So So a couple of days after the murders,
Mhm.
there was some news footage from this KTVB, and it shows a white car pulling up behind the house, up behind the hill there, behind the house where the murders occurred, and it passed by twice, and it parked. Have you guys seen that one?
Yeah, we definitely have. I saw that. It was on a couple of different pages. In fact, I think I shared it. I think we went through it last time when we were looking at the potential back window. It did look very similar to having that angle slope, like the one in the surveillance video coming from the house. Let me pull that up. I know I don't have a picture of it, but I have a picture of the. We're just looking at it. This slope back here on that vehicle, that's one of the only things that you can kind of see clearly, is that it has a back slope. It's super suspicious.
It sure is, yeah. And I mean, because that's just really ironic. And that we're looking now, a month later, we're looking for a Hyundai Elantra, a white Hyundai Elantra, and then that car shows up in the back when back of the house, from the other neighborhood. So they had to be familiar. They had to be familiar with how to, be able to get back there.
That, and it's not the biggest, I guess, like secret that criminals or the potential suspect here would revisit the scene. That happens quite a bit. That's why there's a heavy like unmarked police presence at funerals and things of that nature, because they're going to be looking for somebody that's standing out a little bit, somebody that looks a little bit more guilty than others, things of that nature. And so, that's definitely something that I would look at. Somebody driving around, somebody driving slow in the area. That's definitely intriguing.
Yeah, they sometimes try to like inject those stuff in the case.
If that's been called in as a tip.
I'm pretty sure it has. I know that the Moscow police have come out saying that there's been thousands of tips that have come in, but I'm sure it has. It's going to be kind of difficult to see what vehicle that was driving back there. But one thing that is for certain is that the police gathered probably hundreds, if not thousands, of surveillance from the neighborhood, and if they saw that vehicle passing by that day, I'm sure they went back to those homes and said, "Hey, can we borrow your surveillance again? See if somebody else has been coming back." And I think they've brought that up. They were expanding it to more than the day of and the day before of the incident.
Yeah. And then have you guys also heard that they expanded it out, the search parameter, about 30 miles out?
Yeah, we were looking at that. So
I thought it was 25. Isn't it 24, 25 miles?
Well, yeah, it's about 24, 30. It's about the same. But when you look at, and caller, I know you can't hear Jaime or Blue. You can only hear me. But Jaime had said, wasn't it like 24? And I'm like, yeah, it's 24. But it's about the same.
25 to 30.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. It's probably further than that. But it has been reported out. And the reason being, and I found it to be odd, is they did that after the gas station footage came out. Right. And so there's one or two things that are happening there. One, they really had no clue where this Hyundai Elantra was at, and they have no suspect behind it, that they hadn't thought about looking outside of town until they saw a vehicle coming into town from that direction. Or they're just, double checking every single lead. However, I feel that if they thought it was in, they had an idea of where it was coming from, they may have looked out of town already. So I was actually kind of concerned about that aspect of it, but they extended it out, and that was one of my thoughts on this case was, if that is the suspect, right? We're all alleging it here. Let's just say it's coming into town at 3:45. Something had to have sparked this suspect to do this, right? There had to be a trigger that occurred that enacted the rage, and he went out and did this. He had to be coming from a certain distance away. Now, the girls went to sleep at 2:55. That was the last time that the call came out or went out. At around 3 o'clock, there's that body cam footage from outside Taylor Drive or whatnot, and you can see the lights turning off at around 3 o'clock. So that's the window. This person had to have gotten triggered while they were alive uh, by something that they said, done, whatever, an incident that occurred that he didn't like. And he had to have come in from somewhere that it took that long of a time span to get there. And so if the trigger occurred at 2:45 and he's coming in at 3:45, that means he was about an hour, maybe an hour and a half away if he was driving fast. If that trigger occurred at 1 o'clock and he's getting there at 3:35, then he's about two and a half to 3 hours away. And so that can give you a little bit of a radius as to how far of a search you need to put out there as far as the suspect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe he just heard that somehow he knew Kaylee was going to be in town. And, he decided he kind of maybe knew where she hung out, the corner club, and just sat and watched her for a while, or maybe even went in the corner club and watched, and they got triggered there about, something with jealousy. And then just, maybe while they were at the food truck, they went and waited at her home, waiting for them to get home, towards in the woods in the back of the house. And there is some footage of I don't know what channel it was, but there was some footage where there was like a white car that looked like a Hyundai Elantra passing by the food truck at the time that they were there, and I think it passed by twice, and it was in the reflection of the window where the food truck was.
Yeah, I looked for that. I'll be honest with you, I had some difficulty telling what type of vehicle was passing by.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing that I wanted to see more than anything when I was looking at the reflection, so I was wanting to see the type of vehicle that the girls were dropped off in, and I couldn't tell in that. There was some rumors out there that it was a black 4-door sedan, and then some thought it was maybe a small SUV. And regardless of the fact, Enan Harsh, who is the neighbor guy, that's a little bit suspicious on my end as well. He stated at one point, and in his statements, you got to take him with a grain of salt because he's contradicted himself several times. But he stated that he had seen a black SUV parked in the area when he got home. He stated he got home around 1:45, 1:30, 1:45. That would put him around the same time that the girls are getting home from, on their Uber drive. Perhaps maybe he's a little bit off on his time. He gets there and he sees, the Uber guy doing his thing, getting the next ride parked outside the house. And so I was interested into seeing what kind of vehicle it was that dropped him off.
Yeah. I was watching this guy that is currently in San Quentin. He's a prisoner in San Quentin. He's there for murder.
Mm-hmm.
And he's now helping
Ken Maines. Detective, or I think his name is Ken Maines or Kevin Maines, something like that.
Yeah, you know about that?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that show where he's talking about his theory is the guy was lying in wait in the woods, and he probably was playing with some rocks, or maybe he was taking the knife and carving something in a tree, and that they need to look out there closer in the woods to see if there's any indications of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there definitely would be. If the guy was waiting there, for them to fall asleep, perhaps, right? Let's say he was waiting for all the lights to go out, and he was there since the girls arrived at 1:46. That's an hour in wait. That's an hour watching, just waiting for you to enter. That time's going to go by slow for him. It's not a fast time, and you're going to get bored out there, and he's going to fidget. He's going to play with the rocks, cut the tree. Yeah, I heard his theory on that. I thought it was very compelling.
Right. Okay, so we're on the same page, and it seems like we're watching a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah,
for sure,
but,
for sure.
Well, I don't want to hog up everybody else's time, but thanks for letting me call in. And yeah, I just wanted to throw a few things out there. Just with everybody else, my theories keep changing based on the information that comes through. I thought it was Jackass, and that he went to Africa, and I don't even know if that's ever been confirmed, but I thought it was the ex-boyfriend, and then I thought it was just some random person that just wanted to kill. So yeah, it's now I'm thinking Adam.
Yeah.
So, it's based on unfortunately, we don't have a lot of information from that police, so we have to speculate, and we just go off of what we have at the time. That's all we can really do.
For sure.
So,
put it out
but
there.
yeah, thanks guys, and everybody that's watching better be giving a thumbs up and get these guys at their 5,000.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. Thank you so much. You have a great day.
Thank you very much.
A great night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care. Merry Christmas.
So we have a $10 super chat from Denita 443.
Look, cheers.
Cheers. And it says, I'm a newbie enjoying the enjoying Island. Thank you on your take on this mess from Long Island. And we have a new member, Leticia.
Thank you.
We have another caller coming in from Massachusetts. Let's see who it is.
Cheers.
Welcome to the Drunk Turkey Show. You're live on air. How's it going?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Not much. Who are we speaking with?
Yeah, my name is Brian.
How's it going, Brian? Hope you're having a fantastic evening. What are your
Yeah, man. I actually stumbled across your show. I don't know. I was just kind of going through the YouTube feed, and it popped up. And probably because I've been, watching some of the facts on this case and the stuff that's been coming out. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, I haven't been completely as invested probably most of the people that are watching the show, but I'm getting more invested as this is going on and just kind of coming up with my own theories. So I wrote some notes down before I called the show, and maybe you guys can answer some of the questions, or maybe these are some thoughts that you guys have had as well too. Perfect. So my perspective is I definitely think it's someone that's in the local area. I don't think this was just a random attack. Someone just came through and randomly ended up at this home and murdered these four, tragically murdered these four individuals. So I think it's someone definitely local. Like saying, I don't think it was a random attack. It was definitely planned. I think that the person or people were definitely waiting for them, possibly maybe inside the house. I don't know if that theory has been put out there at all. I think the Moscow police, from what I'm seeing, I think they completely are just lost in this case overall. And I was reading, I guess now the FBI is involved in this case and helping and assisting the Moscow police, probably because it's just so over their head. Another thing I'm just thinking about too is why wouldn't they release more information? Why wouldn't they put more information? What are they hiding? And it just makes it seem like they don't have any leads at all. Because I would think in a theory with a case so public and so worldwide known that they would start putting out some more information. Let's see. Another question I had too is there were two other people in the house and they've been cleared as suspects.
Right. Yeah,
that's interesting. How? They didn't hear or see anything.
Yeah, that one it's a little odd, but yeah, there was two other people in the house. They were cleared. It appears that they weren't aware of anything that was going on at the time.
That's strange to me, and I'm sorry to cut you off, because it was like we were talking about this with a coworker today. He was like, those people, the two people that were cleared, they had to have known what's going on. They had to have known the people that have done this. And then has there any theories come up about any maybe drug activity, something like that, or money, or something like that theory? I don't know if these girls would be involved in anything like that, but
there was a theory on Xana's mom, because she got arrested around the time of the murders. I think before the murders, maybe I think it was after. I think it was a few days after, and it was for some type of drug possession.
Mm-hmm. And then just the other thing that I just find spellbinding, from what I'm hearing, like in that area, there's so much activity, so many people around it, so many hours of the night that this just, this college town is booming. You're watching the videos, there's so many people out on the streets that no one has seen or heard anything, and that we know of, right. that information hasn't been released. Mm-hmm. I just find it crazy that no really solid information has been released, and now they have to start thinking about it. The person or people that have done this now have a 30-day lead on the cops. So if they're gone, they're out of town.
Right.
And they're not hanging out in the area.
Now, as far as the reason why they're not releasing information or everything out there, it's probably because they definitely have more information that we're aware of. That Adam call or surveillance footage that came out just recently, apparently law enforcement had that the day after or the day after that, after the murder. So they had that information. Now, a lot of the stuff's going to be hidden from us because of folks like, for instance, In Harsh. Now, I'm not saying that he's a liar or whatnot, but a lot of what he's putting out there is inconsistent. It could be, suspicious, and it's also something maybe perhaps he's involving himself for his own clout to build his own, become a minor celebrity or whatnot.
Right.
And so you might have people that are looking at this case and throwing their name in there just to get that attention. And you have to weed those guys out. So, for instance, if they have a clear manner of entry and they don't want to put that out there, that's because if somebody comes forward, like, all right, you're claiming you did this. How did you get in the house? And if they say something differently than what they know, then they know this guy's BSing or whatever the case may be. And so it's to validate certain things. And then also for instance, let's just say there was something found at the house, maybe a shoe, right? They're not going to put that out there. They're going to be like, hey, have you ever been to that house? Let's just say they found somebody with that they suspect that owns a shoe. And they're like, yeah, people that go to that house, is it customary that they take their shoes off? No. Then why was your shoe off in the house?
Right.
You get what I'm saying? And so those are things that they're going to kind of talk them into. And so I'm fairly positive they have more, but there are some things that lead me to believe that they're not as far on as they may want to be, or as they lead on that they know. And one of the things is that Hyundai Elantra that was videotaped coming in from the gas station. They didn't go outside of Moscow until after that, which it's one or two things. Either they had no reason to believe that somebody from outside of town was coming in and they're just crossing their T's and dotting their I's, or this was something brand new, had no idea, and now they have to expand their search. I believe it's the latter. And so, that is concerning. And that's one thing that, as this case goes longer, the chances of it becoming a cold case increases.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think that. And I was saying, just on this and YouTube, this is the type of activity that goes on every single night in this area. Right. So it's just hard to really, believe that no one heard or seen anything. Really quick before I go, because I don't want to hog up your time. And by the way, you guys have a great show. I just subscribed. I'm going to follow along on the channel. And you guys out there in the audience world, please give this guys a thumbs up. Get their channel out in the algorithm. I'm a small YouTuber too, so I don't want to plug my channel or anything. It's all good. I'm trying to grind my way up too as well. But yeah, give this guys a thumbs up. It's a great channel. And just really quick before I can go, and I know I can only hear, I think it's Daniel I'm speaking with, and the other gentleman I can't. But I haven't, like I said, I just stumbled into the channel. Just what are your theories? Just real quick. Do you think it's someone local? Do you think it's someone that came in, or?
I'll go first. My theory is that it's somebody somewhat close. Hearing the Adam take and them being close, and then you see how much that Kaylee is on the phone after the fact, and you hear what she says. In my opinion, I think whatever Madison told Madison told Adam is potentially direct. There was potentially another person involved in that conversation, and that person is who could have contacted Kaylee and said, hey, Madison told Adam this. And then she's like, what did you tell Adam? I told him everything. That's one thing that I can think of. And that person who is who's that second source or whatever, it could be the guy. And then the other guy that I suspect, it's Adam himself. He's working at the bar that they were at. He gets out of work at 2 a.m. or the bar closes at 2 a.m. By the time he's getting home, which is literally 2 houses down the street, that's probably between 3 and 5 a.m. The police are looking at surveillance and asking for tips between 3 and 6 a.m. He's there, he's awake, he's has a relationship with these girls, and as they're leaving the very close, there's a conversation about what Madison told him in a direct, in my opinion, in a stressful manner. It wasn't a happy, like, hey, what did you tell Adam? It was more under duress. And so I'm leaning in that direction. The police haven't cleared him. The family says that they don't believe he's involved, but the police hasn't come forward saying that. So if the police comes forward to say that, then I might, lean on that direction, but I think it's that direction. I know you can't hear the guys. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to hang up so I can hear the other gentleman speak. But real quick before I go, what do you think the information that was said? Any theory on that?
On what was said where?
Between, you said that this certain information got said and might have pissed this Adam kid off, or.
Well, I mean, if Kaylee was the target, which it appears to be so, and it's not the ex-boyfriend, an immediate ex-boyfriend, usually something with the weapon that they used, and going through 4, it would indicate to me that this was some kind of, very angry, passionate, out of passion type of thing. So I'm assuming that this is possibly some type of love interest or somebody who assumed that they had a relationship. Yep. And Enon kind of throws that vibe at me. When he was talking about, seeing the girls, and he talks about Kaylee more than the other ones. And then he talks about talking with her. I giving them the wine. A part of me suspects that interaction didn't happen anywhere else but his head.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, and he's infatuated and he's coming up with these scenarios and these things, and he's making him believe, he's putting that in his head, similar to like the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, where you can't figure out what's real and what's not. He might be doing something very similar where he's not in there. I mean, he contradicts himself a lot. But
what makes weird sense to me is that
he was talking
the wine.
Yeah. Well, you guys, I appreciate your time. You have almost 700 people watching. That's pretty dope. And keep things going. This is a great channel. I know I'm going to hang up and continue to watch. So thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. And if you want, go ahead. Just plug in your channel. I'm curious as to where it's at.
I'll type in the chat. It's Let's Talk Live and Loud. I'll type in the chat in there. I'm watching you guys, but I appreciate your time. And wow, you almost have 700 people right now. That's awesome. So
yes, sir.
Enjoy. Have a good show, guys.
Yes,
Thank you. Have a good night.
And Angie Fieldhouse from Indiana, just give us about 2 minutes and then we'll take your call. We'll take calls again. I want to he asked, what were y'all's theories on it? We'll go with you, Jaime. Who do you think it is?
You know what, man? Like, it's hard to tell, but I think that the suspect or the perpetrator of this wasn't personal to the victims, but there was more like an acquaintance, someone that was probably in their home sometime, during like a house party or whatever,
right?
And knows the layout of the home and knows somewhat of their schedule, and maybe I feel like it's the same thing that you said. Like maybe it might be the guy got mad because he thought he had a chance with one of the victims, and ended up not having a chance or not like being turned down, and that kind of set him off. But I believe it's someone more of an acquaintance or maybe a love interest. You know what I mean?
Right. What about you, Big Blue? Who are you thinking?
Okay, well, first I gotta say, 4 locals ain't nothing. This is it's a good stuff right here, Slane. I'm repping your stuff tonight because it's good. I don't think it's anything that we have in our crosshairs yet, man. I honestly don't. Honestly, because there's too much video evidence of them where they're at and where they've been, and the cops can, use cellular triangulation now to find you where you're at, especially if you have Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. Anywhere you go, it says where you're at. So kids these days carry their phones everywhere. So I want to say if it was one of them, they can get a subpoena and find out where they were at, and they're getting knocked off the list pretty easily. So I want to say
what's it called? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Blue. I'm sorry.
I'm good. I'm done.
Okay. Well, when it comes down to that, like if I mean, everybody's seen cases like this happen, and they find the guy or the suspect, the murderer, right, on by using they pinpoint their location, right, using their cell phone towers. But I mean, like if somebody was going to commit a murder at this point in time, I believe they would leave their phone turned off, home,
Maybe
somewhere far away, so they can pinpoint. Maybe not turned off because so they can pinpoint the location
I
there.
mean, the guy in Delphi didn't. He was checking stock trades on his phone as he was walking out there.
Yeah, but then again, that town's way smaller than the one we're at.
That's
Idaho.
true.
Way smaller, and also like they can't really pinpoint exactly. Like they can give you a radius of where it hit. But when it comes down to that, when the first, I think it was the first caller that said that detective was talking to one of the inmates at San Quentin, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I was going to comment on that, but since she couldn't hear me, I was like, I didn't want to talk over her. But like in other cases too, it's weird that they will be asking inmate questions.
Well, this is a different guy. This is a YouTuber that made contact with what do you call it, with them that night.
Yeah, well, if that's the case, like why would you be asking like for advice from someone else when the police said it was a targeted event, right?
Right.
Usually when they talk to other convicts or people who have committed these type of crimes, it's usually serial killer. They're looking for a serial killer. This happened back in the early 70s when they came down to the Green River Killer, when they asked Ted Bundy about what he thought that the suspect would be doing, and he told Ted Bundy told him like, you should stake out the place because sometimes these
Jaime, I think you're frozen, right?
Yeah, I think it froze up. Yeah.
Yeah, you froze up, Jaime.
Can you hear me still?
Now we can.
Oh, where did I leave off at?
That Ted Bundy said that sometimes and then you broke up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. My internet is kind of acting up. Yeah, Ted Bundy told the investigators that they should stake out the place where the last body was found because sometimes the suspect comes back and relives their crime, and that's what the serial killers do. You know what I mean? They have this MO where they can tell that this crime was committed by the same person, right? That's why they call them. At that point, they call them serial killers because they already had so many crimes in the same fashion. And at this case, it's like if it's targeted, then why would anybody think of another criminal that's a murderer would provide any information towards it?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. It's
cheers to all the people out there. Cheers.
And for Ken Main, I think it's Ken Mains. He's a detective. He doesn't want to be called a YouTuber. He makes that very clear. Like some people called him a YouTuber, like, hey, we like your YouTube show. He's like, I'm not a YouTuber. And so
I don't know if I said that, bro. If I did, I apologize.
It's all good.
You're a YouTuber.
Oh, guys, we just opened up the phone lines again, so you can call. They are now open. And so we had a few calls coming in, but we wanted to explain those things. He has them calling him, and so it was just kind of like in that direction. So we have a call coming in. Let's answer this. Welcome to the Drunk Turkey Show. You're live on the air. Who are we speaking with?
Hi, I'm Angela.
How's it going, Angela? How you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing great. Just kicking back, talking some true crime. What are your thoughts and theories?
So, my main theory is that I kind of don't have a theory, only because there's so many different, players in this event, so many different scenarios that can be totally legitimate. I kind of lean towards the frat beef. I'm not saying the 4chan theory is like 100% spot on, but there's a lot of information in there that I just think is too specific.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of makes me think like, you know, maybe there's more going on there with, you know, Ethan and Xana. I know they don't know a lot of, you know, like where they went after they left the party and by the time they returned home.
Right.
We know a lot of the timeline of Maddie and Kaylee, right? Not
Kaylee, yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry. You know, we know a lot of their timeline. We've seen them, you know, on the food truck video. You know, the video that just came out the other day asking about, you know, what she told the bartender. Legit to me, and I know frats have a, you know, it's like a brotherhood code of silence, but I also think like, I don't know, a quadruple homicide for a first time killer for a 21 or 20-year-old kid just seems so outrageous to me. So I've bounced from a revenge killing from that, you know, young lady that unfortunately unalived herself earlier this year, to the ex-boyfriend, to, you know, there's just so many different theories, and it's consuming me and almost affecting my mental health at this point.
No, I understand. I understand now. The one thing about the frat that leads me to not go in that direction is I suspect that this is potentially just one person. And the reason being is there was only one weapon used. And that's what it was described. In fact, I think it was described that they were all in the same manner. And it has been described that one weapon was used. I just feel that there potentially would have been more than one. And if there was more than one person there and things of that nature, I find it odd that, you know, let's just say it was 2 or 3 or 4 people there, that 2 or 3 other individuals are just going to watch this happen over and over again. And not saying that they're not trying to stop it, but not participate if they're part of the group, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. And, you know, just to play like devil's advocate here, the only kind of response that I would have is I had heard, and granted, this is all speculation allegedly, because of course, you know, unless it comes from law enforcement, we don't know it's true. And law enforcement is giving us like breadcrumbs. So us as a community are kind of led to, not led to, but forced almost to like come up with our own theories and fill in the blanks within our own imagination. So I had heard that Dylan, one of the surviving roommates, was very good friends with, I think her name is Bridget, and somehow she's affiliated with the frat. And my main thought is one of two things have had to happen. Whether A, the killer was in the house waiting for everyone to get home. I don't think they broke in when everyone was there. Or B, they were told when they could come into the home. So I just think it's very, very highly unlikely that if it was just a random killing or whatever, that they're going to go into a house, a known party house at that, right? They don't know how many people are in there, how many kids are there. They had to know somehow that they were, you know, that it was clear to go in, that they were going to be able to go in, do what they needed to do, and get out. So that's why I'm kind of suspicious of the 2 surviving roommates, all allegedly, right? I don't want to like accuse people that are innocent. I don't want to, you know, add to that, but it's just, there's so many different factors in this that it's blowing my mind. Like, I don't know who on the panel said it earlier, but there's just way too many scenarios. And the frat thing, I could see one of them kind of looking out, or, you know, like knowing about it, just being around the area, making sure no one else is coming home. Just, you know, the fact that they said it only took 19 minutes and the weapon and clothes were disposed of at, you know, such and such location. It just seemed very, I don't know, when I read it, something in my mind, inside of me just felt like maybe there's something like true about this. I'm not saying all of it is factual, but where there's smoke, there's fire. And I
Right.
think the obvious players of a scorned ex-boyfriend or, you know, a serial killer, some of that is just like, if that were the case, it would have been solved by now.
Right. Now,
That's what I truly think.
when it comes to the part where you say that he was in there already, that's a little bit of a risk on its own, because this was a frat house, this was a party house, this was a place, and as we see this video, that hosted a lot of parties. People that didn't know were there at certain points, you know, like in this video. You know, you talk to some of the witnesses that are the neighbors, you hear them say the same thing, that it was an unusual quiet night, and that and that they were surprised about how quiet it was. There was a few neighbors that had said that. You know, if somebody broke into that house and waited, they're taking the chance that there wasn't going to be an after party at that house. And, you know, that's not saying that it's not possible, but that's a big chance. And when you look at somebody like, for instance, Adam, and this is all allegedly, not saying he's a suspect, just clearing that up. You know, he's getting home, you know, from closing down the bar, you know, probably anywhere between, and, you know, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, and let's just say it's 2:30, between the hours of 2:30 and at latest, let's just say it took 2.5 hours to close, 4:30. And so, you know, that's him up in the neighborhood, in the area during the time of the murders. It's, you know, it rings some flags for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I don't mean to interrupt, but he rooms with Jack D, correct?
It is suspected at one point. It's unsure if either one of them still live there, to be honest with you. I would suspect that they both do, or at least he does. I'm not sure if Jack, I'm pretty sure he's still in the University of Idaho. It's unsure if Jack was in home or in town. Kaylee wasn't supposed to be home. She was supposed to, or be in Moscow. She was supposed to go back home. She ended up going back to show Madison her vehicle.
Her car
And so there's a good possibility Jack wasn't in town either, knowing that information. Maybe he was with his parents. And so, which they live approximately an hour and a half, 2 hours north of Moscow. And so, you know, there's that that possibility that he was there. Adam, however, he was in town. He was the bartender there at the bar at the club hub, at the corner club.
Sure. And I'm wondering too, you know, even if they don't currently live together, but at some point, you know, they have some sort of connection. And it almost sounded in that video like she was upset that Madison told Adam something. And it almost seems like possibly maybe Adam said something to, you know, Jack about something Kaylee was doing, or the fact that she was moving, or what, you know, there could be so many scenarios that somehow they're tied together, Adam and Jack. And this was, I don't want to say like a plotted thing, but the other thing I was going to say, as far as a killer waiting in the house,
you know,
video,
there's somebody
part of me feels like if someone was going to do something like this, they could have staked that house out for weeks, months, for a very long time. You know, there's woods right behind the home. They could have wrecked. College kids can just get murdered and the police have no idea. I live about 15 minutes out of Chicago. I'm in Indiana. So we're pretty big. We have a good police force, but about 20 minutes south of me, it's like the sticks, right? Where my mom lives, there's like, I'm not kidding, there's 6 cops in the whole city. And I wonder, I kind of think of Moscow kind of as that, obviously a little bigger because it is a college town, but knowing the FBI is involved, I wonder how involved really are they? Like, is Moscow still the, you know, leading the investigation, or are they letting the FBI take over? Because like, I don't know how that works.
Well,
FBI
this would be a state, a local investigation. The FBI would come in to assist and only assist. They couldn't take over this because it's not a federal case.
Yeah.
So when you say assist, you mean they'll only do what Moscow or Idaho, the state of Idaho, asked them to do?
Pretty much.
pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's probably go through like tips and use their technology to go through data, cellular dings and their forensics and things of that nature. But yeah, it would be all at the direction of the Moscow Police
Yeah,
Department or
Moscow.
the Sheriff's Department. That's there. I think it's in city limits, so it's probably the Moscow Police Department.
It's just wild to me. I was watching a channel that was talking about this. It's called MVAC testing. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a way that basically they can collect DNA with a sterile solution. It almost works as like a vacuum, like almost like a wet vac, and it collects the DNA samples. So let's say you have 5 people's DNA on one surface, right? You can collect this DNA. There's a way that the filter catches it, and you can put it into, whatever machine that they use, and it separates it. But a lot of police departments don't have this technology. Some police departments don't even know this technology exists. And I wonder if, because we're not hearing much about DNA evidence, and I'm sure it's a lot for them to sort out, right? It was a party house. There was 4 victims. It was, at least one perpetrator. But I wonder if they have the full access to technology like that. It's just.
I'm sure they would, especially with the FBI assisting. However, touch DNA is going to be difficult. And the reason being is like that video I just showed right now. You have a party house. You have a lot of people in this house. So touch DNA is going to be everywhere. Now, what can and will be identifiable is if this person cut himself during the act, things of that nature. That blood, it doesn't seem like anybody was assaulted sexually, so I don't think there's going to be any semen or things of that nature on the scene. But blood is probably going to be your best DNA thing. The other thing that it's going to do is it's going to determine, it's going to determine, a lot of things can be determined by the DNA of the blood of the victims, and that is which ones were the order in which they were assaulted in, right? And so because victim 1 is going to carry, if they was used the same weapon, that weapon's going to carry the DNA of victim 1 to 2, victim 2 and 3 to victim 1 and 2 to 3, and victims 1, 2, and 3 to 4. And so that's going to help figure out which ones were first and the time frame in which they went. And so that's going to be their extent of that. If the person cut himself during the assault, then there would be some DNA to go off of. And I don't think the police have confirmed nor denied that there was DNA. What's that, Big Blue? Blue's going to say something real quick. I know you can't hear him. He's going to say it, and then I'm going to repeat it so that you can. Go ahead, Big Blue.
Here's a little bit of info from the actual Idaho Police Department. They have the Moscow department has 6 detectives working on it, 5 support staff, communicative teams, and then the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, has 60 personnel located in Moscow, 2 behavioral analysts. The Idaho State Police has 13 investigators in Moscow, 15 uniformed troopers in Moscow. So they have quite a bit of people working on this case.
So what Blue was saying, he was breaking down, the resources that the Moscow police have. They have 6 detectives, 5 support staff, communications team. They are assisting the Federal Bureau of Investigation with 60 members or personnel in Moscow. So they have quite a bit of heavy FBI presence there. 2 behavioral analysis unit investigators, basically 2 profilers that are going out there trying to figure that out. And then the Idaho State Police have put 13 investigators in Moscow, 15 uniformed troopers assisting with community patrols. So as they're putting all hands on deck on this, the Idaho State Police is taking over basically on the local stuff that normally would have gone to the police department to kind of lighten the load as they do this.
Okay. And then real quick, I don't want to hog up anyone else's time, but my real quick question for you is, are you shocked yet that they haven't put out a not necessarily like a profile, but I mean, I guess, yeah, like, are you surprised that we haven't heard anything about that yet, a month in, as far as, what they're looking for? Because either they know they have somebody or they have no idea. Like it's I feel like it's A or B, right? Like they're really reaching out to the community with this white Elantra because they have no idea what direction to go in, or they're extremely tight-lipped because they don't want to risk the integrity of the investigation and when it hopefully eventually goes to trial. So if that's the case, they're probably narrowing in on somebody. But I would think by now, especially locally, the kids that go to school, they should have a profile to look out for. Are you surprised that we haven't seen that yet? Is that common that we wait, that it's like it takes this long? I guess it seems very surprising to me.
I would agree to a certain extent. I think that, if they, at this point, there may not be, I don't know if maybe perhaps it's something not to scare the local towns, because I think, the profile of this person isn't something that's too probably difficult to come about. It's probably somebody older than the age of 18, younger than 30, maybe 35 at the top. But I'm thinking he's probably somewhere in his mid to lower 20s, somebody who's associated with the group, somebody who's probably either a current or former student. Because we have to realize you have to look at the victimology of Kaylee, right? She was potentially the target. Now, where would the somebody come after her with this much hatred? Would have to be somebody either that is around her activities, right? So somebody from her school, somebody from her work, or somebody from her after work activities, which would be including the bar and or the party scene that they have. And so, in my opinion, you're looking at those three groups of people. Somebody that's physically able to commit this crime as well. You're looking at somebody, probably a male, probably stronger, probably athletic. And so there's a few things that you can put out there, but when you go to the university, that's going to describe quite a bit of people there.
Yeah. Absolutely. And to be honest with you, I'm not sold that she was the intended target for sure. I understand that it's been reported that she had, more harsh wounds and she was, I understand that's been reported, but I think that could be, maybe she was the first one and he just had the most strength at the time. Maybe she fought back the most. Maybe she screamed the most. There's no way to really tell, in my opinion, for sure.
Right.
It's likely she was the target, but we just don't know anything for sure, which was to wrap up my rant here. That was kind of the whole point, was we just don't know. And I keep hearing theories, and every theory I hear, I can come up with a counter theory. Right. And it's blowing my mind.
Right. No, I understand.
It's driving me insane.
No, there's a lot to go in here, and a lot of it doesn't make sense. I tell everybody when I look at a case or I look at a situation like this, I try to solve it in using a 1,000-foot perspective, and every claim or accusation or rumor that comes in, I look at it based on the information that's been put out there and see, does it fit? Like, if it doesn't, if I have to take out something out of that equation, then it doesn't fit. Think about it like Sudoku, where if you have a 3 here and you want a 3 over here, it has to fit. If it doesn't, if it interlines and it intersects, then it doesn't fit. And so it's very what do you call it? It makes you think a lot, this case, but I appreciate the call. We're going to talk about it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're going to take
time.
Oh, no problem.
Yep.
Thank you so much. You have a great day.
You too. Yes, thank you so much. I'm enjoying the stream. So you guys have a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
And so we're going to take 2 more calls after this. We're going to talk about it, but then we're going to take 2 more calls before we end the stream.
I want to answer somebody's question on the live chat real quick.
Go ahead.
I had to look it up because they asked how many cell phone towers are in the Moscow area. The FCC says 3 within like a 25-mile radius.
Okay. Well, you can triangulate with 3 pretty good. So you can triangulate a signal there. We're going to take 2 minutes to talk about that last caller, guys. I know a call just came in, and then we'll take 2 more calls. So just give us a couple minutes. When it comes to Kaylee being a potential target, this is, I'm looking at it from 1,000 view, right? You have 4 victims, both in the 2 of them that were in the same bed. Both of them, well, how can I put this? You have 4 victims, 2 of them in the same bed twice, right? So you had Xana and Ethan together on the 2nd floor. You had Madison and Kaylee in the same bed on the 3rd floor. That's been reported. According to Steve Goncalves, the police, according to him, the police told him that the suspect entered and exited potentially on the 2nd floor. So he says there's no point in going to the 3rd floor unless basically the target was on the 3rd floor. You listen to the coroner and she talks about that the lethal puncture was a single one to the chest, right? Except she says most of them. Now, when you have 4 victims, 2 would be half, 4 would be all, so 3 would be most, meaning one would have different, more than just one fatal puncture wound. Not saying more than one stab wound, just more than one fatal one. All the other ones had one single fatal puncture wound. And so you hear from Steve, who stated that there was a fight in the 2nd floor. You hear from Xana's dad, who says that there was also defensive wounds on Xana and that she was a fighter. And so if you have one person or one perp, right, entering these buildings or entering these rooms and doing this while they sleep, that means that one person probably got woken up to what's going on and they fought, right? In my opinion, the first one is probably Ethan because he's the biggest, the strongest. And so Xana would have woken up through there and that would have started the fight, which explains the defensive wounds on her. If the same thing was said in the 3rd bedroom, if Madison was the first and then Kaylee woke up and was defending herself, then those 2 are very similar situations, yet one still was more brutally harmed than the other, to the point where it was described that the liver and the lungs were destroyed. Now, in my opinion, once you put all those facts together, one of them, doesn't mean much. The dad saying it wasn't in the same manner, the coroner saying the most, the person coming in on the 2nd floor, not having to go to the 3rd. Independently, they don't mean much, but together, collectively, that points as a possible target going towards Kaylee. Does that make sense to you guys? We'll start off with you, Big Blue. What do you think about that? Do you think that potentially it's different?
No, I think she was one of the main targets. She got the most amount of injuries. By the dad's perspective, I mean, it hasn't been put out there yet. Who was the target?
Right.
But I want to say, there's a lot of evidence that, of course, they're not going to give us because they need that evidence to be able to build a case. I mean,
Right.
you know how easy it'd be for a defensive attorney to say, well, that's biased information because you released it out to the public, and it could be scrutinized.
Right. What about you, Jaime? What are you thinking?
When it comes down to the dad and the coroner talking to him about his daughter,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the coroner specifically said that his daughter had the most wounds, but I don't know if the coroner would be able to tell him that. No, like he couldn't tell anything about the other victims. She's only in charge of telling him what happened to his daughter, right?
Right, but he said that his daughter and Madison were like sisters. They were family to him, and so I'm assuming that Madison's family is probably close to Steve, and so they probably would have relayed the information from the coroner to each other.
Oh, yeah, could be.
You get what I'm saying? And so that would explain why he would know the extent of the injuries on Madison.
Well, what about the other 2?
The other 2, I mean, he'd have to talk to the families. However, the coroner stated, remember, she's the one that said most had one single lethal puncture wound, right? And Kaylee's dad stated that her liver and her lungs were gone. And so you can kind of put 2 and 2 together there that that the downstairs assault, both of those, even though one of them also potentially fought back, ended out with the same one single lethal type of puncture wound. Meaning that, this person, if the lungs and the liver were destroyed, that's multiple wounds. That's a lot. That's a lot. You know what I'm saying?
So
and you're going through like ribs for the lungs. That takes a lot of force.
Okay, so you're saying that the person that defended themselves got less wounds on them than the one that was asleep?
No, what I'm saying is there was two people that were defending themselves, and one of them was less than the other one.
Okay, but what makes you think that the one that had more from those victims that defended themselves had less injuries than the daughter of the dead? You know what I mean?
So the coroner said that there was only that three of them had a single lethal wound, which means one wound that was able to receive whatever organ or puncture whatever organ enough to have them bleed out is exactly what he described it as. The other one, there's a total of 4 victims. Two of the victims were asleep during probably the first blow. The other 2 were probably woken up during that attack and fought back, right? And so you have 3 of them, including one of them that fought back, that only sustained 1 lethal wound, while you have one of them who's potentially the last one, based on Steve, who stated that they went up to the 3rd floor. If the entry and the exit was the 2nd floor, there's no point in going to the 3rd floor. So you can assume the 3rd floor was the second room that he went into. In my opinion, that would probably mean that Kaylee was the last one to go through this. And, I understand there's adrenaline and all this other stuff, but going through 3 people first, there's got to be some, if that's not your intended victim, you get what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of hate and anger in that last one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just hard to believe that the people who defended themselves had less injuries. So I guess that's why the law enforcement called it a targeted event, right?
Right. And so, yeah, 3 of them had one puncture wound that was lethal. There was only one of them that had multiple puncture wounds that were lethal. Now, some could say that, it's because she fought back. My thing is, so did Xana, and she didn't have that multiple wounds that were described like that. So what's the difference there? Why would one that defended herself, possibly the second person, while this person is, still pretty, in my opinion, less fatigued than he would be after the 3rd one, have less wounds than the 4th one, the last one, the one that, and that's if she's last. There's no saying. He could have entered the 2nd floor, went up to the 3rd bedroom, did what he did, and on his way down.
But wouldn't if it was one suspect with one weapon, wouldn't blood be transferred from one body to the other one?
Correct. So I think that they are aware of what order that this went in based on that. And so I feel that they're aware of that, and they just haven't released that to the public. I think that Steve knows a little bit about that, and I think he's aware of how that happened, which is why he was so open about talking about that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, like he started off real not putting so much confidence in the law enforcement, and slowly he started letting them do their job and not speaking as much as he was in the beginning. So they probably told them some information, or maybe they do have a person of interest that I don't know if they let them know, but something they gave them that information, some type of information that kind of like made them calm down a little bit.
Right. And so that's possible, man. It's crazy, dude. This whole entire situation, it's like and to us, the internet sleuths, and I put that in quotations, the internet detectives, the guys looking at this case, there's a lot of like possibilities and what ifs, but these questions might be more easily answered by the police. They probably have a lot of it may not be so open because they have way more information. But I just did open up the lines. We're going to take 2 more phone calls. We're going to keep them at about 2 minutes each. Give us a call if you want to come on. If nobody calls in the next 5 minutes, then we're going to end the stream. But I had a couple of people calling. And while we were talking about this, go ahead and give us a call. The phone lines are open. Here it is. Here's the first one.
Alrighty. Let's see what we got.
Welcome to the Drunk Turkey Show. You're live on the air. Who are we speaking with?
Hey there, Daniel. It's Jeffrey Stigman, and I'm from Rockford, Illinois, outside Chicago.
How you doing? Good.
Good man. Hey, new subscriber tonight. Very interesting. Love you guys' show. So thanks for having me, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Hey, I'm a Jack D. I think he's the prime suspect. So Jack Decor is the suspect for me because he has all the motive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He found out that this Kaylee, first of all, she's moving to Texas. She's not following him anymore on Instagram, and we've all seen his posts on Instagram about how he's kind of following her everywhere she goes. So she's got that new car, and now from the new audio evidence we got yesterday, we see that she's interested in this Adam guy, because I think everything, when Maddie says I told him everything, I think Maddie was saying to Adam the bartender that hey, Kaylee, my girl is interested in you, she wants to hook up. So that's my theory on the whole thing. And I think he it's similar to I don't know if you guys have seen Crime Circus's video on Jack D and the guy that's shotgunning the beer on the roof.
Yeah.
It pretty much shows that Jack D, his buddy, could have been down there playing video games, and he could have slid out his window and jumped off that roof onto that hillside off the garage area. It's a 30-second walk over to the house, and he goes over there, in my opinion, when everybody in the house, because all the girls were out that night. So Jack D can see that all the lights are off, and he knows they're not there. So he goes over there and just punches the code in the front door. I don't think he went in the sliding glass door. I think he went in the front door. He went up into the Kaylee's bedroom because she had moved some of her things out, but I believe she left her bed there because the dad says on the Fox News that her bed was still made. She slept with Maddie that night. They were just hanging out as girlfriends and stuff like that, So, yeah, I believe he put the dog, or actually there's people that say Kaylee let the dog out when they got home, and they must keep the dog in a locked room to not bother the other roommates. But it makes sense that Jack D could enter the home without the dog acting all crazy because, he's part owner with the dog.
Maybe.
I think he would.
With the dog situation, I have several dogs myself. At 1:45, they're not caring about me entering the house. They're going to stay asleep where they're at. And so if this was Kaylee's dog, there's a good chance the dog was in her room already. She probably walked in there, maybe got dressed, got ready for bed, and the dog didn't follow her into Madison's room, and she just closed the door.
Right?
Yeah, I have several dogs that would probably do the same. If I walked into a room at 1:45 in the morning, changed and then walked out, they're probably looking at me, laying on their dog bed, and then going back to sleep. And so
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't think the dog's a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Either way, but I do think Jack D has all the motive, and I think he had the ability to enter the door because he knew the code. And I think he was waiting for them to get home, and then he waited like in a closet or something crazy like that. And then his first victims were on the third floor, Kaylee and Maddie. And I think he honestly was only going to kill Kaylee, and he was thinking she was going to sleep in her bed. You know what I'm saying? But now he's got to kill both Maddie and her. And then when he's exiting the home, poor Ethan gets up. They could have been making love with him, and Xana could have been in their beds making love and heard something. And he wakes up and says, I'm going to go check this for you, babe. I hear that noise too. I heard someone scream or something like that, So,
yeah.
And I think they were just collateral damage.
Yeah, no, it's quite possible. I mean, we looked at the entry and exit point. We don't suspect it being the back door either. And the main big piece of evidence behind that is there was some drone footage of when the forensic scientists or the forensic team arrived at the scene, and you can tell that it's the forensic team because they're getting their cameras together, and the drone goes over the house into the back door, and you can see that the slider door is secured by 2 stools at the bottom of the door. Now, some folks are saying that law enforcement did that. I highly doubt that, especially if that was an exit or entry point. You can see stools in the background of that glass door, which means they were close to that entrance. If the suspect ran out and was sweating after doing this to 4 people or was bleeding because he cut himself, there's a possibility that that DNA transferred onto that stool. And if the police used that as a means to secure the backsliding door, that would have compromised that and the entire scene. And so, when the forensic team gets there, nothing is touched. Everything is preserved as they found it. That way they can take as many pictures and document the scene as much as they possibly can in the manner that they found it in. And so I strongly don't believe that backsliding door was used as an exit point, because how could he put the stools behind him? Perhaps he entered there and then put the stools there in case somebody ran out and that was going to prevent them from leaving. That's a possibility, but exiting is not. I think he went out the front door.
Yeah, he definitely went out the front door, because we confirmed that with the neighbor who was walking her dog. She said the door was wide open at 8 a.m, and the other surviving roommates didn't wake up till 11. You know what I'm saying? So I think he just left the door open. When he was leaving, he didn't care. At that point, he had already killed 4 people. So
right. No, yeah, for sure. And so, yeah, it's a crazy situation. There's so many strings and possibilities here. It's almost endless until something. At the end of the day, somebody's going to come out and they're going to have a suspect, and then all of these strings are going to line up. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I think the cops know it's Jack D, and the whole white car thing. They can figure out a white car, because I know law enforcement people, and they have a computer software program where they can take any photo of a car that they capture on security cameras. They put it into their computer, and it'll run through and tell you the exact year frame and model, and you know what I'm saying, on a car like that. That car that's parked in the driveway at Jack's house is like a 2012 Kia Rio, whereas the car on the left from the White Avenue, the backside of that gas station, that is an Elantra. Between those years, the cops know that for sure. So
yeah, I think that the car at Jack's house is a Hyundai, but I don't think it's the Elantra, or let me rephrase. I don't think it's an Elantra. If it is, it's a newer Elantra. It's not a 2011 or 2013 Elantra, but it is.
Yeah, I agree.
It's all suspicious, man. It's all crazy. I'm just curious as to where Jack was, because, those girls called him. If his phone rang and it wasn't off, then there would be a ping as to where his phone was that night. And
yeah, I think Jack just kept his phone in his bedroom at home, because he knows that even if someone calls him, it's going to give him more of an alibi. You know what I'm saying? Like, my phone was there, but he could have easily just ran across the street and done what he did.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And yeah, man, it's one of those things where Jack does. I mean, everybody looks at the ex-boyfriend right away when something like this happens, and you have to, because most of the time it's going to be that direction.
They want that murder weapon, though. I think that's why they're holding out. They don't want to arrest anybody because they want a concrete case, and I don't think they definitely want that weapon.
So if that vehicle coming in from east of Moscow is the suspect at 345, then if it was Jack and he was living at his house or living there couple of houses down, the only way that makes sense is that he was discarding evidence and they caught him going back home.
Exactly. That's what I was just going to say. And if you take that White Avenue and you head out way east from White Avenue, there is a park. I forget the name of the road. It like White Avenue ends up turning into some park road. It's like a park boulevard, and it goes way out into the country, and there are areas to drop that weapon off, so hard telling.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I believe there's a Actually, 9mm and lipstick had brought it to my attention. She had sent it to me saying that there's a creek east, there's a river east of Moscow. I wouldn't be surprised if that's where at the bottom of that river is where.
Yeah, and that's I don't know if it's the Palouse River. I don't think it is. It may be where that one frat brother ended up drowning himself. I don't think it is, though. It's a different one. But yeah, I saw that on the map too, and I was curious if he just dumped it in that.
Mm-hmm. It's very
he was
possible.
familiar. Yeah, he might have been familiar with that area. He might have gone out there with his buddies and hung out and knew it was like a really remote area to get rid of a weapon and the clothing and whatnot. So, because I think he wore some type of clothing like you ever seen the movie Departed?
Yes, I have.
With Mark Wahlberg. You know, when he goes in to shoot that guy, he's dressed up and all that because he doesn't want to leave any DNA evidence.
Correct.
I think he wore something similar to that, and then he just stripped down. That's why you don't see any blood dripping out of the onto the gravel driveway. Or if he did happen to go out the back sliding door, there's no blood evidence on the concrete. And when you stab people in the manner this guy stabbed people in, there's blood shooting out everywhere when you're stabbing them.
No, I agree. The only thing about the consistency and texture of blood is that it does dry fairly quickly. And so it depends on how soon after the attack that he left. And him running out probably would leave the footprints on the floor there, but it would be I don't think he'd be dripping for very long. The texture and the substance of blood it dries pretty quick. And so
we would have to see the stairwell from the third floor down to the second floor or something of that nature to see if he left any kind of footprints. But I agree, man.
And then the other thing is, and we read it earlier, we were reading the 911 portion of this where they called 911. They reported a unconscious person in the second floor. If there was blood everywhere, that would have been on that call. Or I don't think you would be calling
the
your
girl
friends
passed
first.
out. Yeah, they might have just been in a state of they saw all that blood, and I think the girl fainted, and maybe the call came in as she fainted and it got confused. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, we read the thing, and it says there that the second victim was on the second. There was a victim on the second floor that they assumed was unconscious, and it wasn't. And so,
yeah, most likely that was Ethan, kind of in the kitchen. He woke up, came out of Xana's bedroom and whatnot. So yeah,
it's crazy, man. There's a lot of possibilities here, but I appreciate the call, man. Do you have anything you want to plug or anything else you want to say before we let you go?
No, thanks. I just subscribed to your channel, so thanks for allowing me to call in. And you guys have a good evening, man. Cheers.
You too. You have a good night.
Thank you
so much for the call.
Very good night.
Take care. Bye.
Have a good night.
We'll have one more call come in before we sign out. That was a good conversation. Everybody's looking at Jack D. The only reason that I'm not looking that direction so hard is because the police have cleared him. In my opinion, if they cleared him, they have to have some type of evidence to show that he's cleared. Now, it would behoove of Jack and or anybody that comes up as a suspect to maybe make a statement to say, hey, this is where I was at. This is what I was doing. Police cleared me. Just because it'll stop the rumors and it may stop the rumors. I think it'll be looked through with a magnifying glass, whatever alibi he comes up with. And I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to say he's lying or whatever the case may be. But if, he says, hey, I was, 6 hours away. I was on a phone call at 1:00 in the morning or at 2:00. I talked to the girls as they got home. I fell asleep. So at 2:45 when they were calling, I was already asleep. There's a ping showing that he was 5 hours away, at least an hour before then. There's a ping. Maybe let's say he woke up at 8:00, 9:00 in the morning. He calls him back, texts him back. And there's just not enough time for him to go wherever he was at to the location and back. So there's a possibility of that. And so, but I see something real quick. I want to bring this up. There's no way the killer killed 4 people, then cleaned up in the house. when there was still 2 other people in the house. I mean, it's possible. I mean, there's some other people that have been out there that have. I mean, you look at the folks that I can't remember his name off the top of my head. You might remember it, Jaime. Amityville Horror.
Oh, man,
Joe DeFay, something like that.
I'm not really familiar, man, with that. Honestly, I'm more familiar with the movie itself. I know it's based off of the case, but it didn't really interest me as much.
Well, in Amityville Horror, the real situation, the guy went room by room with a shotgun, and people slept through that.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
when those
Ronald Defoe, that's who it was.
Okay. On the what's it called? On Kaylee, they said that she was a target, right? That's what they're saying.
That's what they're saying. And real quick on this, Ellie cleared no-name people, in my opinion. Well, they did say the ex-boyfriend that they called multiple times has been released to be Jack. So that one we can say is. But go ahead, Jaime.
I was saying like, Katie was supposedly the target of this event, right? Of this crime, and sometimes people, or the suspect, when it's personal, they usually tend to how can I say, like they injure the face, or they cover the face after the crime has been committed, and some people. Police and law enforcement said that shows some kind of personal vendetta against them. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know if that's the case here, or they're just solely going on the wounds.
Run that by me one more time again. Let me hear that again. Run that by me.
No, I'm saying like law enforcement said that, not just law enforcement, but in different cases when it's a personal crime, a suspect usually kill somebody, right? And it's personal that they usually injure the face, or they cover the face after the crime has been committed, and that tells law enforcement that it was personal, like a personal vendetta against that certain person. But I don't know if that's the case here. You know what I mean? Or are they just going off by just the wounds itself, or if that's the case, because sometimes the suspect covers their face with either a pillow or maybe even the what's it called, the covers or something. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, there's a possibility there. I think there's got to be more to that than just the wounds, because the police came out very early, before the autopsies, before anything, and they felt that it was a targeted event. Now they've come out and said that they don't know who was a target, if it was one of the persons or occupants in the house or the house itself. Now, right here, and this is the Moscow police from their department. It says, at this time, the investigation detectives do not believe the following are involved in this crime. Now, that doesn't mean cleared necessarily, but they're not looking at them as suspects. The 2 roommates, the male in the grub truck surveillance video. And so they're not identifying who he is as by name, but they don't believe he's involved. The private driver, the male Kaylee and Madison called numerous times during the early morning hours of the 13th. It is suspected that the person that they called was Jack. So this is the I know somebody, I think it was 9mm, said something about that Steve Gonzalez cleared Jack, not the police. The police aren't looking at him as a suspect either. The individual at the residence when 911 was called, any individual, I'm sorry, or the individual on the lease that was moved out of the residence before the school year started and was not present at the time. Now, this is an updated report that was released today. And, we went through this earlier, and we found that there was some things that have been changed, such as the arrival time, that the girls had arrived. Before it said 1:45, now it says 1:56, which aligns with what the mom of Kaylee was saying when she mentioned the time frame in which they showed up. And so, let's see. And Yusuf has a question. Do each of you have as your number one suspect a motive? We'll start off with you, Big Blue. Who is your number one suspect and motive? And then this is going to be probably the last question of the night, guys. We appreciate everybody that's called in and appreciate everybody that has participated in the phone calls. Big Blue, what do you think? Who's your number one suspect and motive?
First of all, I don't trust any stick jugglers, but honestly, I don't know, man. It's too hard to tell right now. There's not enough evidence to point at one person yet.
Yeah.
Everybody's got alibis that have been brought up. Now the new bartender, Adam, right?
Mhm.
I don't think he's a person that the girls would be like worried about, like, because they weren't scared and said, "Hey, we need to talk to the police." Like, "Hey, I told them everything." Maybe he told them everything about her plans about moving.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm still dumbfounded by who it could be.
What about you, Jaime? Who is your number one motive and suspect?
At this point, with the evidence, the crumbs of evidence, which is not a lot, right? I really don't. I can't really tell you a specific person. Each person we talk about kind of like has his own little faults and stuff that makes them suspicious and whatnot. But I can't really tell you who exactly I think it is unless we get more information and more solid evidence.
See, for me, I'm leaning towards somebody in Adam's circle, which includes Adam in his own circle. I'm looking at the girls mentioned him by name. This is a 2019 updated Moscow police list here, and Adam's not on there of people that they don't believe. It doesn't say the bartender that served them the night that they were talking about walking home, right? News Nation contacted the police department, asked them about Adam, and they said that they weren't going to comment on his involvement or possible involvement in the investigation, which everybody else they cleared. And so that doesn't mean that they suspect him to be involved, but potentially maybe he knows who's involved / whatever that conversation that Kaylee and Maddie had coming out of the corner club, because we looked at it. We found the surveillance. It was within half a block. It was right there. That camera to where the corner club was right there. That gives us a time frame in which it was happening. That tells us that they had just left the bar. This guy was working, right? And he did something that alerted these girls to talk about him within a block after they left on a Saturday night. You get what I'm saying? Like, when you look at everything combined there, like if I'm busy at work and you leave, right? And then I text you immediately, that tells you something important had to have been said there, done, whether it was a conversation, a text message, a call, maybe an unfriend request or an unfriend on Facebook, because, we found that Adam Lauda is friends with Jack Decor. He's friends with Dylan, one of the surviving roommates in the house. He's not friends with Madison, not friends with Kaylee on Facebook. And them two have pictures of themselves, or Kaylee has pictures of her at his house. And so yet, he's not friends with Xana. He's not friends with Ethan. It's not saying anything, but that's a big, red flag or anything. But when you put it into context where they were just talking to him the night of this incident, they were at the bar talking to him. He cleans up, he packs, the time it takes for somebody to clean up a bar and go home or to close down a bar is probably an hour to 2.5 hours, depending on the size of the bar and what time the last patron left. That puts him back at the house, three houses down during the time of the murders and awake. I find too many arrows pointing in one direction. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm going with it, guys. I know somebody had called in right now when I was talking about this. If you want to call back, we'll answer this one call. We'll keep it open for another 2 minutes.
I just want to say, A lot of it is speculation, guys. We don't know the truth yet. The police will find the truth out. Just give them time.
Mm-hmm.
Going through thousands of reports and thousands of videos like ours, where we get information, and it might be good information, but they still have to go through it and comb through it and find out the truth, and that
Yeah.
takes time.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And as far as the locks changed, we saw a video earlier where there was a bunch of people in that house without any of the supposedly without any of the persons that were living there in there. And so I think it was the front door. We've seen. I'm answering this call. Before I let you on, I'm going to finish this thought real quick, Dan. I see your name is Dan.
Alrighty,
right?
thank you.
We see that there are people that are in the house and none of the homeowners are there. We've looked at pictures on Zillow and on apartment for this residence. It doesn't appear that there's anything more than a regular door lock on these, like an interior door lock on these interior doors. And so I know there's some folks that were saying that, he may have changed the locks on the door, and that each door had its own PIN code. We couldn't find any evidence of that. And so, Dan, welcome to the show. How you doing? Nice to talk to you. How you doing tonight? What are your thoughts and theories on the case?
Well, you're talking about Adam, and one thing that I think is lacking is the fact, what's his motive?
Mm-hmm. Well, the part that I see a motive here is not so much a motive, but the part that kind of perks my ears, so to speak, is the conversation that Kaylee and Madison had leaving the corner club. And you can see Kaylee on her phone the entire time she's at the Grubhub truck. You see she's not interacting with anybody else except for Madison during that time. And even at that, it's far and few in between. She's completely attached to her phone. She had just mentioned something that sounds like she said it in stress or under duress. Like, Maddie, what did you tell Adam? And she's like, I told him everything. I'm not saying it's him, but what I'm go ahead.
None of us really have all the evidence that the inside have. And incidentally, I am a retired officer from the state of Idaho and the largest department within the state. And I look at a lot of different facets. Some of the things that complicate the investigation is basically the time of year. When you're looking forensic evidence from a suspect, when you have people bundled up with scarves, hats, gloves, coats, women scratch, and you're not going to have the hand scratching if they're wearing gloves. You're not going to have the arm scratching. Typically a woman might scratch a face. So I would look for somebody that have unusual scratches on their face. And Ethan, for example, was a relatively large man. A man would punch under those circumstances. So I would look for somebody that had bruising. Mm-hmm. Another thing that concerns me is I notice in comments sometimes, I see Jack S. I believe he's the hoodie guy.
Right.
He's mentioned, and people jump in very, very quickly and defend him. And they're generally men that are defending him. And I suspect those are fraternity brothers that are covering him. And, there was one person that made a comment that was a friend who's on Facebook, made a comment defending Jack S. And she went on about he volunteered his blood, DNA sample, and he's not in Africa.
Right.
And she also went on saying the family is being harassed and concerned. They're a very wealthy family, and they haven't hired an attorney and discredited that, saying, "Oh, he's not in Africa. He donated his DNA." And if they wanted to halt the harassment or fear or threats, I believe they would make a public statement. And are you aware of why people are suspicious of Africa?
Well, I think they're just a lot of folks are stating that he left town.
No, Africa specifically.
Oh no, I don't know why Africa specifically. No, I don't.
His family are both physicians, jackasses, and they have been operating. The father is on the board member of, and I believe this is why this Africa came into play. They routinely, for past 4 years, traveled to the country of Kenya, and that's where I believe this country came into play. Whether there's any truth that he fled there or not, that's something else to be said.
Is he part of borders?
When they talk about the resources that are pulled in, one of the resources that are typically pulled in major cases like this, or small cases, murder cases within small departments, is the Idaho Bureau of Investigation. They have a forensic team that comes out. The forensic lab is based in Boise, Idaho. And I have utilized them in cases where we literally had 24/7 surveillance with state police detectives for 2 months on a suspect. So they might be very active in watching different things that are behind the scenes.
Right.
But I think you guys have hit on some really good points.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And yeah, no, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, there's so much that can go in so many different manners. I mean, for me, the biggest clue, so to speak, to look at is, all right, why so late in the morning, right? If this person got triggered and was enraged enough to commit 4 heinous crimes, why that time? And
there's no traffic at 3 or 4 in the morning. It's quiet.
As you say that, I can think of one superficial tricking event that was brought up by a gal on Facebook that was in defense of Jackass. She went on to defend him, and she commented about he goes down the sidewalk towards his own house because he just got ditched.
Right.
Now, if you are somebody that has a very narcissistic personality, and let's say you were interested in someone, and they told you F off or this or that, and then you felt jilted or ditched, that could be a motivating factor for some people if you had a psychotic personality. But I don't know. I don't see many motivations for a college kid to go do this, but we're not talking about somebody that's probably all that stable.
That's true. And there's also could be the potential of narcotics being involved, maybe changed his mindset, things of that nature. If he was under the influence of something else, and then mix that with alcohol, increase the rage, and then go out there and commit this crime. And so, there's a lot of question marks there. Like I said, the biggest ones for me and the ones that kind of pull in Adam is he was working at a bar that night. He was their bartender, and the time that you close down a bar and get home on a Saturday night is probably at least an hour and a half to 2.5 hours after the closing. You have to get patrons out. You have to, there's last call. There's all that. Adam lived 2 houses down, and so that puts him awake in the neighborhood at the time.
Yeah, it gives him the opportunity.
Yeah, the opportunity is there.
The opportunity is there, but I still think there's nothing that indicates there's any motive whatsoever.
There's no.
And I think another reason people, of course, the frat boys they don't want to discredit their fraternity.
Right.
And another thing, if Xana was say he went to the bar that Adam works at, Xana is underage and legally, shouldn't be served.
Right.
And of course, there'd be some civil liability. So maybe there's some issue that anyone that would have served her certainly doesn't want to really go out of the way to volunteer any information.
Yeah, that's true. That is definitely true, especially if she was served underage. And so, yeah, that makes a valid point. That definitely does.
And and I think that with alcohol involved at the fraternity and different things, some of this might create some problems for the university as far as civil liability.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And the universities, when they interact with law enforcement, they're very guarded about what they say. Extremely guarded.
Mm-hmm.
They'll generally use legal representation when they communicate with law enforcement. That's my history with them, dealing with them at Boise State University, for example. But I think you guys are doing a good job. I hope you keep it up, and maybe somebody will come through. You know, the one thing that might happen ultimately, someone with a conscience, say they know something and they feel like they don't want to reveal it. Their conscience might come forward, and it might be the little details that needed to break the case.
Oh, for sure. For sure. It's just going to take somebody, you know, it sounds like the Elantra is potentially suspected to have been borrowed. So, you know, that's what Kaylee's dad has brought out. And so if that ends up being the case, it just takes one person coming forward saying, hey, my car was used that night. And
yeah. And, you know, I have secondary thoughts about that. I'm just wondering if they are utilizing that to distract the suspects so they don't flee. I'm not really sure.
That's possible.
You know, that came into the investigation very late in. I'm very surprised, but that came in very late.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if it were critical information, it might have been developed more early on.
Right. And I think that the description of the vehicles, it's kind of pinpoint. You know, it's a certain generation of Hyundai Elantra. You know, it leads me to believe that, you know, what they used to figure that out, you know, if it was a ring device or it was some kind of surveillance, I don't think that the clarity of the surveillance camera would be able to determine that it was a white Hyundai Elantra 2011 to 13. And even if it was,
you know, unless the cameras had infrared, it would help enhance the photo. You know, I've handled cases where they've had excellent surveillance, and I've also had ones that are, you know, they're filmed with a potato, and I wouldn't recognize my own wife, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, no,
but,
for sure.
Yeah, I'm hoping something comes out because, you know, it's a tragic event. It's extremely brutal, and it takes a very enraged person, in my opinion, to do that. And I don't think it's going to be a singular incident that brought this about. I think it's going to be a matter of it was the straw that broke the camel's back, and that in the suspect's mind. Okay, now I'm going to do it.
Right.
Thanks, George.
Yeah. So, hence, I think it was actually a series of rejection, and maybe the type of person that's not accustomed to taking rejection.
I agree. I agree very much so. I think that it was somebody who was rejected. You know, my initial thoughts on this when it first happened was that it was somebody that was kind of close, potentially a friend of the boyfriend's, and somebody who thought that they may have had an opportunity with Kaylee, given the fact that she was, you know, going through a separation with Jack. And when he found out that Jack and them were getting back together, that he couldn't accept it. And so that was my first thought about this. And, you know, you think about the manner in which the crime was committed with the weapon that was committed and how many victims you have there. It just really points at somebody very, very angry. And
oh yeah, I mean, we're talking about a rage, and like one thing has been mentioned, and quite applicable, is either alcohol and or drugs involved, which would enhance it.
Right.
And well, gentlemen, you have a great night. and hopefully everybody talking things up, something will come forward that will put this case to a rest.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much for calling in and giving your opinion. We appreciate it. You have a great night as well.
Alrighty, you also. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Go ahead, Blue.
One theory that I brought up, man, is like, yeah, they go to bars and these girls are pretty good looking. You know what I mean? Guys would always try to hit on good looking girls. They might have turned somebody down the wrong way. You know what I mean? Like, cause
Embarrassed them?
yeah, like I hang out with some girls sometimes when I go party from work, and like there's always guys hitting on them, bro, and there's always guys like buying drinks from 'em. And like these guys will buy drinks for the whole table. They'll buy drinks for me just to talk to the girl.
Hmm.
And I mean, like, what do they turn them down like in a horrible way?
Yeah,
That's
and
why
they embarrass them.
Yeah, that's what I tell the girls, man, that work with me, and this happens. Like, I said, don't take the drinks if you're not gonna drink them and talk to them. I don't want no drinks because I mean I'll drink them because they're free, but you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
there's one night I went out, I probably had like 10 free drinks because these guys kept buying rounds for one of my girlfriends from work,
Yeah.
and
No,
he
that's
turned pretty bad, and he was pissed, man. Like he wanted to fight, like.
yeah, man. And especially when you mix alcohol and things and potentially maybe other possible narcotics, especially one that's white and powdery, I'll leave it at that. That and alcohol can lead to some testosterone rage type of things. And especially, if this is a younger guy that's an athlete that is trying to get an edge in college sports, he could be taking performance enhancing drugs that have that type of effect on him, especially when you mix with alcohol. And so there's a lot of potential, possibilities here. We have a thank you, George Teston, on the $10 super chat. We really appreciate that. He goes, is there a way to tell if the knife was used before as a hunting, gutting, or if it was brand new? Great show, guys. Drink it up. The best way that I can think of is the way they're going to be able to tell is if the knife was, if there was any type of DNA, whether it's blood or hair from an animal that was on there, that could have been left on there. If it was really cleaned or somebody that took really good care of it, which I think they, I know the news brought it up that they believe that it was somebody who took care of their knives, really was, into knives. And that could be because there was no other DNA that was left out there. And it appeared that the utensil was very clean. It was probably very sharp. So whoever took care of it sharpened it up more than what you would get out of purchasing it brand new. And so I think that, go ahead, Blue.
I was saying earlier when I popped my Four Locos open with my knife,
yeah,
I cleaned my knife before I used it because it's been sitting in a drawer for a while. So, I didn't want to drink that stuff after I popped the Four Locos with it. Yeah, and this looks like a fan, but it's a knife. Yes.
We got this in. It says, I have a lawyer for a reason. Goncalves said in an exclusive interview Sunday, he added that he rarely communicates with police directly anymore. They talk to my lawyer now. We got another $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Paul. Great stream. I liked and sub. We appreciate that. We want to say and thank everybody that has liked and sub, and encourage everybody to like and sub. We're trying to build this channel. It's newer. We've been doing true crime probably for about 6 weeks now, maybe 7 weeks. Just around the time that this incident had occurred, we've talked about the Delphi case in Delphi, Indiana. You can find that in our playlist under Murder Mysteries. We've talked about Casey Anthony. We've talked about Vanessa Gillian. Yeah, and so if you're interested in other cases, we've talked about those in the past. We are no longer taking calls. I have one person calling in. We will be doing this again on Wednesday night, so make sure you ring that notification bell. That way, you're notified of that live stream. We'll be also, just to kind of recap for members only, starting probably week after next, after Christmas and everything goes through. We're probably going to be doing something called the After show, which basically is a live stream for members only, once a week, just more lighthearted, more drinking, and less, just talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about, to be honest with you. And so I encourage you to join the members the membership by the so you can get introduced into that content. We're also going to have a members only a private Facebook group that we're developing right now for our members. And so we're trying to build that up as well. So please consider doing that. Blue, do you have any last words before we let everybody go tonight?
Yeah, man. I just wanted to tell everybody that still my condolences go out to the families of these poor innocent victims.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry for your loss. A lot of people say that we're cloud chasing, that all we want is views. We just want the truth. We just want to know what happened. Honestly, I'm sorry that it was one of your family members involved in this. And I wish you the best.
For sure. I didn't see that comment, but if, that's all we're trying to do. We're trying to put a different perspective out there. Myself, I've been in prior law enforcement. Blue, he's in the medical field. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do here is put a different perspective out there, one that's more factual based. We aren't trying to, and it's not that there's not good information out there on Reddit or 4chan or things of that nature, but we're trying to stick more towards possibilities based on what's been released by the police and it's been uncovered and verified by the news media. And so, our condolences to the families and everybody involved in this case and all the other cases that we've talked about to this point. It is extremely sad, and it's a situation where justice needs to be found. Whoever did do this needs to be held accountable at the highest degree, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But with that being said, guys, we're the Drunk Turkey Show. We appreciate everybody that's in the live chat, every member that we've had, and everybody that has helped with the super chat or a super sticker and helped and liked and subscribed to help grow this channel. With that being said, guys, we're out of here. Y'all have a good night. Stay safe. Peace.